Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 664. 3? I
Three.
don't know.
Three.
3 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Here, sorry. Sorry, pardon me. The Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, June 5th, 2025, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous day here at the Beaver Lodge, as you can tell by the sun if you see it reflecting here. And it's a warm day. It's very hot in here.
Yeah, it was 35 here yesterday with the humidex.
Jeez.
When you consider just the day before, it was like 3 in the morning. At very early in the morning, it was 3 degrees and 3 to 35 overnight. Like,
yeah, it's hot. I'm schwitzing again. Whew. I feel like it's really funny because yesterday was hot, right? And
yeah.
we walk into a place yesterday, and the song that's playing, "It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes." I was like, I almost did it. It's like, okay, Nelly, aye, Captain. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot and a little muggy. Again, not to complain because it's been cool, but yeah, it's like, as you know, I look tropical, but I'm not. I'm a winter boy, so. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Got a good show for you today, kids and cubs. Hopefully, we'll have some fun. But some wackadoodle stuff has been happening. So yeah, we'll be talking about some wackadoodly things. It's a new word. Mr. Grizzly. I pulled a wackle.
Wackle-doodly. Well, mental health is good today.
You're wearing pink again. That's usually a sign.
Physical health is not so great today. Back hurts, shoulder hurts, neck hurts. And I just had a sneezing fit during the credits at the beginning of the show.
Yay.
So I'm going to have to pop a Benadryl soon, I think, because I was sneezing my head off all day yesterday and started off this morning. So, physical health, not the best, but one day at a time, And if I can if I wake up in the morning, that's a good start, right? Any day above ground is a good day, even when it's a tough day.
Yes, we have a listener. I'm not sure if she listens to the show, but I know that she follows us on our socials. I call her we have this thing. She calls me Emic, I think, which I believe is Cree for beaver, and I call her Nookum, which is like Cree for grandmother. And so we chat. So Nokum, if you're watching, hello. But when I ask her how she's doing, she says, I woke up on the right side of the sod.
Well, there's also
That's a good start.
Kokum. There's also Kokum, but I'm not sure which tribe that's from because it's
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. Because it's a pronunciation thing. Yeah, but they're the same thing, Kokum and Nokum.
yeah.
Indeed. So if you're watching, hi. Hope you're doing well. All right.
How about them Oilers, eh? How about them Oilers?
Yeah. Oilers.
3
Yeah.
seconds left in overtime. I had gone to bed because I was just too tired.
I was up.
I went to bed halfway through the third period. I was just exhausted. And Lola was sitting there staring at me like, come on, dude, go to bed. Go. I'm like, so I go to bed and woke up at 3 o'clock this morning. I'm like, who won the game? I'm like, oh, wow. 30 seconds left in overtime. And
I know.
like, wow. I wish I had the energy to stay up to watch that because it looked like it. I mean, the first 2 periods were great. The half of the third that I saw, I was really enjoying it. It was a hell of a good game. Well fought. But again, it's a different team.
Right.
Thank you. Kokum is Algonquin. It's a different team. Yes, it's almost all the same players for Edmonton. I think they've added a couple over last season, but the way they played that game last night, there's a determination they didn't have last year. It's just because they know what it takes to do it now. And Gretzky, the first time they lost in the Stanley Cup final, it's the famous story of Gretzky and Messier. They were leaving the building and they were walking past the Islanders dressing room and it was dead silent. And they thought, how come they're not in there partying their brains out? They just won their fourth Stanley Cup. So they knocked on the door and said, can we come in to congratulate the guy? I said, yeah. So they brought him in and they were all just sitting there in their stalls. They were happy and they were jubilant, but they were physically exhausted and physically beat down. And it was then that they both discovered we didn't put enough into it to win it. We have to fight harder next year. And that's what changed it for them. And then they went on their run where they should have had 4 in a row, but we won't talk about that terrible play when they scored on their own goal.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But they realized what it took. And the Edmonton Oilers of 2025 are a much more seasoned and mature team over the 2024 Edmonton Oilers. And you can see it in the way they play. They're carrying themselves differently. They're skating differently. They're playing differently. They are going to win this. Now, it's not going to be easy, as evidenced by last night's game. This is going to be a hard-fought battle for the Stanley Cup, and the winner is going to rejoice, but it's not going to be easy. That it's going to be a hell of a battle from start to finish. And everybody is saying, oh, this is going to take 7 games. And you might be right. I said 6 for sure, probably 7. Edmonton will win it. They've got it. They've got it. And it's not that Florida doesn't have the drive or the determination. Florida is a good team. They won it last year. This is their 3rd year in the Stanley Cup final. But Edmonton has 2 of the best players in the world on their team, in Draisaitl and McDavid. And, Skinner's no slouch in net. Corey Perry's playing great hockey. Darnell Nurse is on his game. I mean, they're just, it's the team that's going to win it. Just mark my words. They're going to win the Stanley Cup. It's coming back home.
Well,
it's been gone for so long.
You were right about the win for yesterday because you had called it. So that's good. Draisaitl had quite a match with the first goal of the game, 66 seconds in. Great start. Yep. And then, well, let's put it this way. Something happened yesterday, because I put out this tweet and I said, okay, Oilers roll call, where are you watching from? Who's watching today? And then I saw something appear on my screen and it was like, oh, crap. No, don't do that. Because I understand that politicians get involved in hockey, right? When it comes on, you have the thing where, you wear the other team's jersey and you bring like a pound of wings or something like that. Or beaver tails, or whatever like this, if you win or lose type thing. And there was some comments about Nenshi for example, who's running, in a seat in Edmonton. This he was like in the crowd, whatnot, like with people are calling like a clearly new Edmonton Oilers jersey. And this, and I'm thinking like he was the mayor of Calgary. Like really, it's like why didn't you just show up with a Team Canada with a Draisaitl on the back, like a Sir McDavid on the back or something? Well, not Team Canada with Draisaitl because he's German, but with McDavid on the back, like this. And I'm thinking like talk about the most petty things to get involved with, right? It's like
Really.
he's running for premier.
It's the
Not running for
process.
premier like this, but
He wants
he's leader. He's going to want a seat like this. He would like to be premier one day. This you got to be able to support both teams,
Well, period.
right?
Period.
So
When it comes down to that, yes. Not and look, I get it. If you're a Flames fan, you cannot cheer for Edmonton. I get that.
Montreal put road signs up on the
Yes.
highways. It's like good luck.
It's like I can't cheer for the Leafs. I just can't do it. So I get it. But this is most of the country is coming together on this one.
It hasn't been here in 3 decades.
1993.
You can make an exception.
Yeah.
This time around, just to bring Lord Stanley back home. But I saw this and I thought, damn. Pierre Polyev actually tweeted a good luck message to the Edmonton Oilers. So good luck to the Edmonton Oilers as they kick off the Stanley Cup Final Series at home. Canada is ready for you to bring the cup home.
Bring it home.
Mm-hmm. Let's go Oilers. And I'm thinking, well, I had two thoughts. First one is, dude, during the last Olympics, you could barely remember there were Canadians competing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not cheering for the Oilers. You're not cheering for Canada.
just
You're
on
not
the
cheering for us
bandwagon.
to succeed. Who's that? And then number two, I'm thinking, crap. If they lose it, it's because he jinxed it with that. Because
We're not
EPPTD.
we're not talking about that. No.
EPPTD. So,
No. Not going
but
there.
I'm just saying, we now have a scapegoat.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Fine.
You talk too damn much.
He just needs to get the spotlight back on him, right?
No.
That's all it is. That's all that is.
But the thing is that we had that first goal, and then, right, the worst possible thing, right? There's a goal that is scored. The Oilers challenge it, and when you challenge a goal, and the challenge is denied, you get a delay of game penalty. So the goal counted, and then the delay of game penalty came on, and then they scored again. And I'm thinking, God damn, Polyev. But Draisaitl, there you go. Like this first goal and last goal.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, my babies. You've done so well. I'm a very, very happy Beaver. And in the last series, if you'll remember, the Oilers did not win game one.
Well, and they're famous for losing game one in many of their series, but this what is it? The Florida Panthers have 29 game one victories in playoff history or something like that. I don't know. I saw a stat there earlier. I wasn't 100% clear on what they were trying to say, but Paul Maurice is a good coach. Florida is a good team. Edmonton is the better team in this one. Florida's goal is to just beat the hell out of them constantly. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you, Edmonton is going to win it. They're going to win it.
Feeling oily with it. Na 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 na.
They're going to do it.
Na 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 na. Feeling oily with it. Na 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 na. I'm just happy. You talked about mental health a little bit, and just I had a little dip yesterday. Enough, which was really interesting. Around like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, my Beaver Sweetie has a big concert on Friday, right? With this Mellows Choir that we often talk about here on the show. They're doing. It's going to be a night of beautiful music, but it's not going to be a light night of the most uplifting and rocking music for people who do nothing that was typically don't do anything more modern than Bach. You really get down and jam there. but the concert is called Lamentations. So we know what kind of music we're in for. It's not going to be choir.
Choir, choir, choir.
So, but I'm looking forward to it. But you know, last night he was going to dress rehearsal, I guess, and I don't know what, but it's like the total. If my life was a Hollywood movie, like it would have been like a slow, low, very slow zoom in to my face with really sad violin music coming up. It's like, you're going out again, living life, doing things. Why I'm home alone again. It was so melodramatic. It was like, oh, it's like
Would you like some cheese with that wine?
I know. I I don't know what got me. I just got this and it's like I'm sitting here. It's like I've got some. I'm watching Djokovic and Zverev play French Open,
Mhm.
right? This is like
Yeah, I
the
saw that
top 10
match.
players like this, and then I've only got like 2 hour gap before the Oilers come on, and I've got a show to prepare, and we might go out, after a rehearsal to go grab a little bite to eat with some friends. So it's not like I'm having a terrible day. It's not like I'm left home. It's like I'm
Mhm.
just in silence and not talking. There's nothing going. Like I got plenty of stuff to do that really interests me. So it's like, but it's sort of like, don't go. It was so sad
Well,
in the moment. I'm laughing about it now, but because I can see myself now. It's like as if I was hovering over myself then. And it's like, oh come on, girl, get a grip. But I was like so melancholy. It's like, you've got so much to do. You're living life. You go to school. You teach kids. You impart knowledge. You're singing this choir. You have friends.
you're having a woe is me moment.
I really was.
It happens. It does happen sometimes.
Ah,
We're all
ah,
subject to that because and here's the thing, it's like when we start to and I've been guilty of this in the past, and one day I gave my head a shake and said, "This is stupid. I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous." It was a matter of I was sort of comparing myself to somebody else,
yeah.
which we all do it at some point in our lives, and it's just don't do that. It'll drive you crazy,
Oh yeah.
and it's unhealthy.
Yep.
It's incredibly unhealthy. And I gave my head a shake and said, "Wait a minute. What am I doing? Don't do that. That's not good." We're all guilty of it at some point
Yeah.
in time, but if you can wrap your head around the fact that you cannot compare your situation to somebody else's because how they got there and how you got where you are 2 entirely different stories, so
Right. Exactly.
you need
So
to remember that, and that's hard to remember sometimes. Um,
so I did
let's inject
just to finish it off. So
Go
I
ahead.
did the thing that I normally do, and I've always done this as a kid, and it works for me. I wrote about it.
Mm,
So I just did it Facebook blog to my friends, like, just having a bit of a rough day, talked about. And as soon as I wrote it out, about like 30 minutes later, fine.
yeah.
You purge it like this. But that's always worked for me. It's like if I'm down, I just go and write, guys, I'm down. And I just pour it all out like this. And then it's sort of like, okay, that's better.
Mhm,
It's like, I can't, that's not really an option now. The other thing too is I just um, um, usually the only time I listen to some really, really sort of heavy metal type music type thing is if I'm down
mhm.
like this, and then I just sort of like throw pillows on the couch and just throw them around or something like I'm trashing a hotel room, and it's like better now.
Well, you know, you always gotta remember, uh, and I have to inject this in here
But I
because
couldn't dance, so I had to write.
this one made me smile because I'll put this on the screen to share with you because I'm still punk, I whisper as I meet Gertrude at the bingo hall. That I honest to goodness, I read that and I couldn't stop laughing because it's like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, that's remember when I told you I went to the Depeche Mode concert, I think last year or the year before?
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, it's like, "Oh, so this is what all the high school kids who dressed in black all the time look like when they're 40 and 50."
Yeah.
It's like they're still all dressed in black, but it's much higher quality clothes because they also have jobs.
Yes, they have real money now.
So I could see the guy, like this, just like saying, "I'm still punk" or "I'm still emo" as they're going to make their RSP payment.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
still punk, you know. It's just
I'm still punk rock as I sign the mortgage papers. Uh, yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, see, I told you we'd have fun today. Kids and Cubs. Okay, let's see. Let's go. What's okay? So the Oilers. Um, good bit of news given that it's Pride Month here. Um, Canada's favorite premier, Mr. Wob Canoe,
Mhm.
did something really fantastic yesterday. And Faye Johnstone, who's one of Canada's premier transgender and transgender community activists, had a note on it from her company called Momentum. And what happened yesterday, I don't know if you'll put it up there, Mr. Isley. It's
Sorry,
the
I'm
first
getting it.
link.
I don't have an outline yet.
It didn't go to you?
Oh, I didn't get it. Hang on, let me
Oh,
double check.
it must have
Oh,
been.
no, I do have it. There it is.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. I was
Apologies.
just wondering if it got stuck in my outbox there. Happens sometimes. Um, yeah, great thing that has happened because the premier of Manitoba, while New Brunswick under Blaine Higgs tried to target trans kids in Saskatchewan, wanted to try to target, well, I'm not sure if they had, I think they did in Alberta, really targeted trans kids, and
Mhm.
Ontario sort of mused about it on the sides. Um, the Manitoba legislature has passed Bill 43, adding gender expression to the provincial human rights code.
It's
Yeah,
that's a win. That's a win.
that's a win. So, thank you, thank you, thank you, Premier Canoe, for using your power to
For good.
protect and
Yes.
elevate your citizens rather than punching down on them.
Well, and this is the thing, right? Don't punch down.
Right? Especially during Pride Month. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being the example. And again, that man, if he wants to, is going to be Prime Minister one day. While everybody's going in the other direction right now,
Mhm.
he's like, nope, not in this province, not on my watch. Respect, sir. Respect. So thank you for taking care of my brothers and sisters. Um, French Open, even though there are no Canadians, there's a really interesting story going on. So you might want to tune into it today, if this morning later on, if you're able to. But there's a lady from France, and it's happening in French, whose name is Louise Boisson, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of the tournament, she was ranked 361 in the world. Now she
Mhm.
was supposed to play in the tournament last year, I guess, but she had an ACL injury right at the beginning, and she wasn't able to. So this year, there's a couple of wildcard spots in every tournament, so the French Federation can just give someone access to the main draw who wouldn't qualify normally.
Mhm.
So they gave it to her, and she has made the absolute most of it. It's absolutely incredible, but she has gone through absolutely everybody in the draw. She took out Elise Mertens in the first round, who's number 24 in the world and has been a top 10 player. Then she took out someone, goes by Kalinina, who's 113 in the world. And then she kept on taking out people after people. And yesterday, she got to the quarterfinal and she was playing the number 6 player in the world and took her out in straight sets. So she's gone from wild card and not having been able to play last year from an ACL to the semifinal of a Grand Slam.
Wow.
She has jumped from 361st in the world to somewhere near the top 50 in about 2 weeks. Because if you win a Grand Slam, it's like 2,500 points. Because and usually the biggest tournament's 1,000. So, if you do well in Grand Slam, you shoot up the rankings pretty quickly. But just came right out of nowhere. So she's playing Coco Gauff today at 10:30. So if you um, like to cheer for an underdog and see a true Cinderella story,
Mhm.
she's one. She's if you thought Victoria Mboka was making international news, right now everybody's talking about her, especially since she's doing it in her home country.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Cinderella story. This kid from out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm doing the Caddyshack. I don't know if you're Bill
Ah.
Murray.
Yes.
Cinderella story.
I remember that.
There's a
Took me a
par
while to catch
four,
on.
It's a 9-iron, and here he is. Oh, it's in a hole. It's in a hole. Cinderella story. This kid from out of nowhere. That whole scene was ad-libbed, by the way.
Oh,
The
really?
whole thing.
Go
Yeah,
fun.
the director said, "Just go and do something." He goes, "And we'll film it, and we'll throw it in for later." He goes, "Okay." So he did the whole thing. It was completely ad-libbed.
Nice. At the AmeriCup, under 16 boys basketball tournament, Canada defeated Puerto Rico 94-81. They were tied after 3 quarters, so Canada pulled it out right at the end, and they finished first in their pool. They will face Mexico in the quarterfinal tomorrow. So way to go, Team Canada again. Our young Canadians making us proud on the international stage. And if you are concerned about for your forest fires and wildfires and stuff. Just a little update here. There are still at least 9 fires in Manitoba that are considered out of control. There are many more. Of course, Flin Flon is the major area that's affected there. There are also 9 in Saskatchewan that are considered out of control. La Ronge is the main city, main town being affected. And if that sounds familiar to you, when we do our mental health walk, the Men of the North program, which is one of our beneficiaries and one of the groups that we talk about, they're based in La Ronge. So I'm guessing that they're probably going through a lot right now. The evacuees have been sent to Prince Albert, and in the town, many Indigenous artifacts have been destroyed, as has the local Rona and about 20 homes. And things are not looking all that great there because, as was the situation for another town we talked about the other day, I think it was one of the First Nations that had been surrounded by various fires. So is the case for La Ronge. It seems that there's another fire continuing to burn on the highway directly south of the community, and the largest fire in the province is approaching the community from the southeast. So again, it could be a situation where 3 different fires come and merge.
Well, a lot of people I've seen have been evacuated to Niagara Falls.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, yeah, and Niagara Falls, they had the mayor talking the other day. He says, "Yeah, we can host people for as long we have lots of hotel rooms, we have lots of space. Don't forget, we host millions of people each year." And he says, "We'll host the people as long as they need the help."
Yeah, I see
So
here.
people from Winnipeg, from Manitoba, are flowing into Niagara Falls, and I thought, "Wow, that's okay, huh?"
Yeah, okay, I see this here. Hundreds of Manitoba First Nations are seeking refuge in Niagara Falls, hundreds of kilometers away from home, as fires continue to ravage the prairies. Though the central province is expecting some precipitation, finally, across northern Manitoba, the provincial government said it will be insufficient to suppress the wildfires, as the forecasted rain comes with the risk of lightning. Yeah, of course. The Canadian Red Cross registered thousands of evacuees, more than 14,300 having to flee their homes because of the active fires, a figure that includes roughly 2,400 households forced to leave First Nations lands. The Manitoba Kiwanoe Okimaknak, so that's the MKO, I guess, said on May 28th that around 17,500 people across 6 First Nations communities were trying to get to safety. With the province declaring a national emergency, Manitoba Premier Rob Canoe announced 1,000 rooms have been made available to those who have been displaced from their homes after First Nations leaders asked for more space to be made available. On Monday, the MKO noted in a Facebook post that between 600 and 800 people were expected to make their way to Hamilton, then Niagara Falls by that afternoon. When Niagara Falls Mayor Jim Diodati could not say exactly how many people the city is hosting amid the blistering wildfires, he told CTV News Toronto the city is doing its part to ensure, quote, everybody in Manitoba is safe. Quote, let's hope that the fires don't go that long, but who knows what Mother Nature has got in store for us, Diodati said. We're happy to do our part, circle the wagons, and take care of our own, and we're hopeful that we can, as a country, play Team Canada and share the load. There you go. Wow. Jill Dunlop, Ontario's Minister of Emergency Preparedness, told CTV News in Toronto in a statement, our government is working in coordination with the federal government, Indigenous leadership, and local partners to ensure the safe evacuation of residents of Northern Ontario and Manitoba. So, yeah. And it seems that comprehensive wraparound supports, including healthcare, education, and other social services, will also be provided. And there was another 7 flights planned for yesterday to bring more people in. Spokesperson for Indigenous Service Canada told CTV News that there are 28 First Nations currently impacted by wildland fire events, 3 in Ontario, 8 in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and 9 in Manitoba. 24 of those same First Nations are currently evacuated due to the ongoing fires. Quote, "We are deeply concerned of the current wildfire situation and the impacts to individuals. Each level of government has their own set of emergency management laws and governance models within their respective jurisdictions. As emergencies most often occur locally, the initial first response is always from the local, provincial, or territorial authority." That's from Indigenous Services Canada. Manitoba state of emergency is in effect for at least 30 days as of May 28, but may be extended if necessary, the province said. Indigenous Service Canada said if the emergency escalates past their capacity, the province can ask the federal government for help by submitting a request for assistance, outlining their needs for successful emergency response, including evacuation support. And of course, the government of Canada has been there and has indeed been responsive in this case. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Grizzly. I wasn't aware that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go, Mayor I forgot his name already, Diodati.
Yeah.
Because I closed the article. But way to go. That's the way to do it. That's the way to be. That's the Canadian spirit there. There's some sad news. We've lost a remarkable Canadian.
Yeah, and I'm really upset by this. I want to share this image with you, but it's got an ad across the bottom asking me to subscribe when I've already subscribed. Drives me nuts. Former federal cabinet minister and astronaut Mark Garneau has died at the age of 76. I assume he was sick. I didn't know anything about it.
According to his wife, he had a brief illness, but died away. He passed away. This is from Ian Bailey of the Globe and Mail.
Mhm.
Mark Garneau, the first Canadian to go to space, who later took on a political mission and served as a federal cabinet minister, has died at 76. On Wednesday, Mr. Garneau's wife announced that her husband had passed away after a short illness. Quote, "Mark faced his final days with the same strength, clarity, and grace that defined his life," Pam Garneau wrote in a statement posted on social media that did not specify the illness. "He passed away peacefully, surrounded by the love of his family." Mr. Garneau, a former naval officer who subsequently became an astronaut, spent 29 days in space on 3 space shuttle missions between 1984 and 2000. In former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government, he served as transport minister and had a short stint as a foreign affairs minister. And might want to note at this time that when he was let go from cabinet, it was rather unceremonious.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Within hours of Wednesday's news, Mr. Garneau was honored in both the worlds of politics and space exploration. Members of the House of Commons stood for a moment of silence upon hearing his passing. Members of the Senate also honored him with a moment of silence. I believe that no, I don't have a clip of that, sorry. But there's a clip of that going around, and unfortunately, Andrew Scheer did not seem to be able to stand
Still
for
observe.
a moment of silence.
He was shuffling papers and looking on his phone. It's like, you disrespectful.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's some moments where everything you need to know about a person or a party is revealed.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
I mean, you can't.
They were colleagues.
Silence for a former colleague, first Canadian in space. I mean, this man goes down in the history books.
Yeah. That means nothing to him.
Yeah. No.
What's on my phone? What's more of my papers? Well, when can I get my next attack ready? Right. Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield paid tribute to Mr. Garneau in a statement. "Mark Garneau was my role model, mentor, 30-plus year close friend, and a brave and exemplary Canadian for us all," he wrote. "My heart goes out to his family. The world has lost a very good man." Robert Thirsk, a Canadian who spent 204 days in space on the International Space Station, said Mark Garneau stood out among the astronaut corps. Quote, "He was an astronaut's astronaut, the best of the best," Mr. Thirsk wrote in a statement. "I regarded myself as a good astronaut, but Mark was a great one. He had a sharp operational mind and was technically excellent, a role model to me." And he then became the president of the Canadian Space Agency from 2001 to 2005, so clearly he was very, very much invested in it. Joshua Kutrick is slated to be the next Canadian to live and work on the International Space Station. By flying the mission, he said he will be keeping Mr. Garneau's legacy alive. Quote, he started this great adventure of Canadian space exploration, Colonel Kutrick said. He was the first one to forge this path for Canada. Looking back, that's no small feat. He added, quote, we lost a national treasure today. Colonel Kutrick joined Canada's astronaut class in 2017 and met Mr. Garneau that year at an event in Ottawa. He said he felt out of place and intimidated until the man he had admired since childhood made a point of meeting him. Quote, when I think of Canada, I think of Marc Garneau as sort of that perfect Canadian, he said, and it is just really sad to lose him. Marc Garneau would have been a great governor general, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Great choice for that. After Mr. Garneau's work in orbit, he served as president of the Canadian Space Agency between 2001 and 2005. There you go. Politics beckoned in 2008. Mr. Garneau won the riding of Westmount Ville-Marie, later named Notre-Dame-de-Grâce Westmount.
Oh,
he ran... Pardon?
Keep going.
He ran for the 2013 federal Liberal leadership, but pulled out before the decision went to party members because he realized he could not win. That race was won by Mr. Trudeau, who led the Liberals to power in 2015 and appointed Mr. Garneau as transport minister. Mr. Garneau held that portfolio until January 2021, so 6 years as transport minister. That's a very long stint in one position as a cabinet minister. When he was appointed to foreign affairs minister, he kept that post until the October election later that year, after which he did not return to cabinet. In March 2023, after serving as a backbencher and finding fulfillment serving in Parliament Hill committees, the father announced his exit from politics, saying his family wanted him at home more often. Mélanie Joly, the federal industry minister whose files include the Canadian Space Agency, said she was heartbroken to learn of Mr. Garneau's death. Quote, I had the privilege of working alongside him and learning from him. I will always remember his wisdom, his generosity, his unwavering commitment to public service. Mr. Garneau, in a Globe and Mail interview at the time of his exit from politics, said he had no lingering anger at Mr. Trudeau from dropping him from cabinet. Quote, the Prime Minister does not owe me an explanation, Mr. Garneau said. You take the cards that are dealt to you, and I've had some incredible cards dealt to me in my life. He was also very unassuming for someone who had accomplished so much.
Very humble.
Yes.
Very humble man.
Not loud.
No.
Didn't draw much attention to himself.
And I have to show you this because it's just fuck. I'm going to show you this. And
is it about him?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, not Brian Lilly. I know it's already going to be bad, right?
You read it, sir.
Okay, Brian Lilly-livered. Sad to hear of the passing. Sad to hear of the passing. I'll add the sick for you, Mr. Journalist. Sad to hear of the passing of Marc Garneau, a true gentleman. I do like being right, and it looks like I am with more talk of a deal with Trump. And please get me a candidate to beat Olivia Chow. Read the newsletter.
Like, really?
Could you not have just made the post about him and saved the rest for something else?
I'm like, well, that was while you were reading, that was my reaction. And I'm like, no, just keep going. We'll deal with this later. I'm like, really? Really? You had to make it about yourself. You had to make it about yourself. What a garbage human being.
God. There are certain things you don't mix. It's like, you know, I'm so sorry that someone died. He was a friend. Get her. Don't go together. So, you can do multiple tweets. There's a reason. Yay. Some things don't go together. Yeah, well, that's Brian. What can I say? So yes, our condolences are clearly to the family. If it's a short illness, clearly, probably sudden onset as well, and a rapid decline. So, family might be a little more in shock than if somebody saw it coming for a long time. I mean, it still hurts for one way or the other, but if it's a short illness, I'm guessing that the family is going through a lot right now.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading something earlier, and I was trying to find it. I think it was from Greg McEachran, who said he had a moment to talk with Marc Garneau a few years back when that Sandra Bullock, George Clooney film Gravity came out.
Oh, yes.
And he said, what did you think of the film? And then he proceeded for the next 15 minutes to tell him how everything in the film was completely wrong, completely impossible, not plausible, and on and on and on and on and on and on. He went for 15 minutes telling them what was wrong technically, blah, blah. And he says, "But did you like the film?" He's like, "I absolutely loved it."
It's a fantastic film. Yep. Totally implausible. Would never happen like this. What a ride.
It was an enjoyable film. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's a great film.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
lauded, but I mean, from a realistic point of view, no, there's no.
All right. A couple of extra little tidbits before we get into the meat of the stuff today. Yesterday, we talked to you about Pierre Poilievre being down 6 points in the last 10 days. Well, and I think, well, 10 days. What has it been like since election day?
Well, let's just have a look here. May 2nd, 47% Mark Carney, 41% Pierre Poilievre. May 30th, 47% Mark Carney, 28% Pierre Poilievre. 13-point drop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's wow.
Like in 1 month and 2 days. Had he won, that buyer's remorse would have set in super damn quick.
You think? Axe my
Thank
ass
you.
again.
Thank you, Kit Swanky Frankie, for sharing that one. Yeah, please axe his ass again. And on that topic, Kits and Cubs, I have successfully reached out to Bonnie Critchley
Oh, good.
and have not gotten a yes yet, but she gave me an email address and said, let's chat about it because, I'm guessing that she's relatively new to politics and wants to make sure that, what she's doing. So I wrote her a nice long message, kind of explaining a little bit of the show. And we do long form interviews, no gotchas.
No.
Don't worry. And you will be safe with us. Give her a list of a couple of people that we've interviewed before. And so, we're serious. Included Nate in there because he's Albertan. So hopefully, she's just familiar with his work. And so, okay, if Nate is there. So fingers crossed. But we may get Bonnie Critchley, and there's a good chance, because I haven't seen an interview with her yet. I'm not saying that there isn't one, that we might be the first. It's kind of hard to say this, but the first national media to maybe score an interview with her.
That would be cool.
Might.
Well, and remember, look, we're
that might be true.
We're progressive centrist. We lean left. We make no qualms about that. That's who we are. But we can objectively interview somebody who is well-meaning, and she's very well-meaning.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't want to. I now maybe you would, but I would not. I would not interview Pierre Poilievre. I wouldn't. You might be able to. I wouldn't. I would just produce the show from the background because I'd be upfront about it and say, look, I hate this man.
Yeah,
I would not be objective.
There's nobody that I would not be able to interview. Let's put it that way. Right. And even probably have an interesting conversation if they're here for an actual conversation. Now, if they're here to just do a bad faith thing or just, stunt, it might be, I would never be impolite, but it might be a slightly rougher ride. Right. In terms of crispness and sharpness of questions and that type of stuff.
Be objective. Or because he's not objective. I remember you look who he chooses to have him be interviewed by.
I know.
Right. So no.
Or I might just like, okay, yeah, this is clearly not a conversation. The conversations that we try to have with our guests is we try to have them in such a way, of course, that they are of interest to you, so that you're getting something, right? Like when we had Mr. Gerritsen on, right? We were asking a lot of questions about media literacy and what are they doing to fight disinformation, all that kind of stuff, because we wanted to bring that. We weren't asking the typical policy questions that he might have been expecting. And then we're not got you. It's just like, this is where our field of interest is, right? Specifically. So yeah, if he was not here to have a genuine conversation, and I'm not saying that you can't make your points and be partisan and whatnot like this, but I mean, it has to still be a genuine conversation. Right. So, probably after a few minutes, I would just find a way to wrap it up delicately. It's like, well, thank you for your time, and move on, because I would not feel that my audience would be getting out of it,
right,
what it is I had hoped for. But I would be able to, and I think if he ever did want to come on. But the other things, I probably wouldn't send out an invitation, though. So
Well,
it would have to be something that his people called, right?
yeah, and that's not going to happen.
Well, it has happened once that we got a call and says, "Would you like to?" Once or twice. So yeah, a couple times. Like this, we've got one time for Black History Month, there was an organization that said, we have some stuff, if you would like to interview people, and it's like, oh, okay, and we look through the list and say, yeah, this person would be interested.
Oh,
So sometimes people reach out to us and say, like, we have people or we have
I thought you
opportunities.
were saying his people reached
No,
out
no,
to us.
no, not his people. But it has happened once
Oh,
or
yes,
twice
yes,
so far
yes.
that people have pitched themselves to us.
Mhm.
But usually we're going out and
We pursued, yeah.
we pursue. So yeah, good stuff. So fingers crossed. Wish it for us, kids and cubs, because I know that a lot of people are thinking it or trying to get her, and it would be really really nice
That'd be
because
awesome.
we
Yeah.
often get scooped because we're not that big yet. So it would be nice to be able to get this. So, but we're working hard to try to get it, and hopefully, kids and cubs will be able to bring that to you because I know you would enjoy that.
I have an announcement to make. I'll be
Ooh.
starting my new gig
Yes.
on July 7th. Yeah,
Yeah.
July 7th is the set start date. So yeah, I just thought I'd let everybody know because I had it confirmed yesterday with my contacts. Yeah, I said I have to go out of town. I have to do this, and he goes, yeah, I remember you told me about. I said, here are the dates. He says, okay, we'll have you start on the 7th then, right after you get back.
Oh, congratulations.
Still waiting on some stuff, but hey, that's a few weeks off, so no rush. I'm in no
Oh,
panic.
wait a minute. I got that wrong. It's Pride Month,
Mm,
which means it's not congratulations.
what is it?
Congratulations.
Okay, I've never heard that before.
You've never heard congratulations
No, I've
or
not.
conflatulations?
Congratulations. Like you're
Yes.
farting at people?
We had that in French. Conflatulation. Conflatulations. You've done
I
well.
fart in your general direction. That's Monty Python and the Holy
Yes,
Grail.
indeed.
You
Oh, that
silly English knigget.
Knigget.
Night.
What's Knigget?
K-N-I-G-H-T. Night. That's what he says. You
Oh,
silly English knigget.
Knigget.
Night. Because he's French, right? So
I
I didn't pick
love
up.
it.
I've seen that movie I don't know how many times, and I never picked up on that. My buddy said that line, and I go, "Wait, he says that?" So I had to go watch the film. I'm like, "Oh my god, I never caught that before."
Ah, oh, man. Okay, kids and cubs. Yesterday, in parliamentary things was a effing weird day.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a coffee for this.
Yes.
You do the setup. I'll get a coffee. I'll be back. I've got some video clips because
Okay.
I'm like, "What?
What the hell?
What the hell?" Cue that up in the meantime too.
All right. Kids and cubs. Ah, yesterday was the day that there was going to be
Hell yeah!
there's going to be a vote on on this. Well, we always call it a vote on the speech from the throne. Technically, it's not a vote on the speech from the throne. This is a bit of a civics portion here, because we don't vote on the words that the sovereign says or that is said in the stead of the sovereign, because that would not be cool. What we do is there's an address in reply to the speech from the throne in the House, and that's what's voted on. Um, so just a little bit of civics thing, and I'll have more civic stuff here for you. Um, so there was going to be a vote on that. Um, Now, I was always under the impression that the speech from the throne, as a routine matter, is a matter of confidence. I've been talking to some people. It seems that there are certain situations maybe where it not be. I'm not sure, but in this case, the debate was moot because the government House leader Stephen McKinnon had said that the government was considering it a matter of confidence. So that was going to happen no matter what. Um, so to give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on here, some context about how this is supposed to happen, and then we'll get into the weird stuff. There's no standing order that requires the speech from the throne to be debated at the beginning of a new session. Traditionally, when the House returns from the Senate, a day is designated for the consideration of the speech. The Prime Minister will move a motion to consider the throne speech either later that day or the next at the next sitting of the House. The motion doesn't require notice, and it's generally moved and adopted without debate, but even though it is debatable and amendable. On the day specified in the motion, the consideration of the speech from the throne, a government backbencher usually moves that an address be presented to the Governor General, or depending on who delivered the speech, to the sovereign or to the administrator of the Government of Canada. And usually the motion is formulated to offer our humble thanks for the gracious speech which Your Excellency has addressed. That's basically the motion. And then you get to the amendments. So you got an amendment uh, from the bloc that says, that sort of respects the jurisdictions of Quebec, and then you got one from the NDP, and include Indigenous people, and then you got the one from the Conservatives that said, and will include, and we urge the government to table an economic statement or budget, which the Conservatives tried to then spin as we're forcing the government to table a full budget this spring, which is not true. That did not happen. So once this happens, this allows for the wide-ranging debate on the government policies announced in the throne speech and provides a rare opportunity for members to address the topics of their choice. Now, from 1867 to 1893, the motion for the address in reply to the speech from the throne typically consisted of several paragraphs, each which received separate consideration. The paragraphs collectively formed a resolution that was adopted and referred to a select committee. The committee would then report the address in reply to the House, where it would be agreed to and engrossed, which means it's reproduced in larger print on parchment-like paper and presented to the Governor General. The cumbersome procedure was changed in 1893 when a new practice was adopted, whereby the House itself considered the address in the form of a presentation to the Governor General. It was not until 1903 that the motion for an address in reply became one brief paragraph of thanks for the speech from the throne. So that's where we got to now. This, where we get like I urge the House or ask the House to offer our humble thanks for the gracious speech for Your Excellency as addressed, and then you vote on that if they're not amendments. Now, following the mover's speech, a second government backbencher, usually one who speaks the official language that is not of that of the mover, is recognized to speak and second the motion. So the motion is advanced in one of the official languages and is seconded in the other. Both the mover and the seconder are typically chosen from the ranks of those members most recently elected. Their speeches are followed by a 10-minute question and comments period. When the seconder has finished speaking and has responded to the questions and comments, the leader of the opposition normally moves to adjourn the debate. The usual practice is for the Prime Minister or a minister, often the government House leader, so that would have been Stephen McKinnon, or the President of the Privy Council, to then move the adjournment of the House. Now, the House provides for 6 additional days of debate on the motions and on any amendment. You don't have to use all 6, but you have up to 6. These days are designated by a minister, usually the government House leader, and are not necessarily consecutive. The House normally debates the address early in the session when there is little or no government business on the order paper. In the following days, the government typically places bills or motions on notice to sustain the work in the House later on. The fact that the debates on the address has not been completed or that the House has not yet voted on it does not preclude the House from discussing or voting on other issues. And that's how, for example, the first reading of the proposed Strong Borders Act was able to take place. And I believe there was I believe Chrystia Freeland was speaking about an Internal Trade Act. I'm not sure if she's tabled it yet or said it was coming soon, but we've already heard about the Strong Borders Act, and it passed first reading. So you don't have to pass the speech from the throne to be able to start debate on other issues. So for people wondering, like, how do they do that? It's actually not required. So everything is okay there. There's nothing fishy going on.
Well, one of the big concerns about the Strong Borders Act that a lot of people are worried about is it's according to this, and I'm trying to get some more information, but it says the Strong Borders Act would give law enforcement access to internet subscriber information without a warrant.
Mm. Supposedly it's in like very specific limited cases. I haven't I'm not going to talk too much about the Strong Borders Act because I haven't a chance to read up on it too much yet.
We will address it.
But we will address it and bring it to you.
I've not had a chance to read enough about it to have any sort of opinion or statement about it. I'm just reading headlines at the moment.
But you know that the Canadian Civil Liberties Association is going to be all over this. Because it's a big omnibus bill and it affects, I think, 14 different laws or something like that. It's a big thing. But the principle of it is like, hey, why are they debating the Strong Borders Act before they've even like voted on speech from the throne?
Mm-hmm.
This is actually allowed and it's normal. So there's nothing weird going on if somebody's trying to make you believe that there's some illegal processes going on here. Not at all. It's perfectly normal and fine. So from that point on, the purpose of giving the first reading to the pro forma Bill C1, which is an act respecting the administration of oaths and office, is to assert the independence of the House of Commons and its right to choose its own business and to deliberate without reference to the causes of summons as expressed in the speech from the throne. In the early years of Confederation, one view held that the attempts to amend the address in reply to the motion ought not to be made. In 1873, the first amendments were moved to the address and reply motion when a motion of censure was made against the government for its conduct in the, quote, Pacific scandal. Although a sub-amendment subsequently proposed an expression of confidence in the government, the Prime Minister resigned. The Leader of the Opposition was invited to form the government, and Parliament was prorogued before the amendments were put to a vote. Now, I want you to remember that because something happened yesterday that could have provoked that.
Mm-hmm.
Amendments were moved again in 1893 and 1899. Over the course of the next 40 years, amendments were commonly moved, although not systematically. It wasn't until World War II that the practice of moving amendments to the address in reply to motion became more entrenched. Recent practice has been that the Leader of the Opposition moves an amendment on the first day of resumed debate. A sub-amendment is then normally proposed by the Leader of the second largest opposition party. However, another member from that party may do so. So, Leader of the Opposition, the interim leader in this case, that there'd be some type of budget or economic statement. The Leader of the second largest party, Le Bloc Québécois, respect the jurisdiction of Quebec, right? And so on and so on. A sub-amendment adding words with the effect of making the amendment a motion of non-confidence in the official opposition has been ruled inadmissible, since votes of want of confidence are only directed against the government of the day. So you cannot, like in a regular bill, you can put something in and say like, this is a matter of confidence.
Right.
Right. Now, opposition can't declare a matter of confidence. Right? It has to be the government that says. That's why, like when you had during Stephen Harper's day and all that kind of stuff. Well, we declared that we think that this is a matter of confidence, and they lost it. Yeah, well, that means SFA because you don't get to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yes. But you basically cannot include in the vote for the speech of the throne the poison pill that will take down the government.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't vote in favor like this. You have to either vote against the speech from the throne. Specifically, you can't vote for a speech from the throne that expresses lack of confidence in the government. The Speaker has ruled out other amendments which were not deemed to challenge directly the government's policies, on which, in the Speaker's view, were the equivalent of ordering the House to increase government spending and as such requiring a royal recommendation. An amendment similar to one on which the House had already expressed a judgment earlier in the debate has also been disallowed. So those are the type of things that you can't put in. Immediately after the adoption of the motion, the address in the speech from the throne, the House adopts a motion without debate or amendment that the address be engrossed, as we mentioned earlier here, which means it's reproduced in larger print on parchment-like paper and presented to the Governor General in person by the Speaker of the House of Commons. It's customary for the Speaker to be accompanied by the Speaker of the Senate, a few invited members, including the mover and seconder of the address, the House leaders, and the party whips, and the clerks of both houses. So representatives from all parties, all the whips, and those people all go together with this thing written on parchment and presented to the Governor General like they were presenting it to the sovereign and say, here are your words. They have been adopted. And look, we made them all pretty. Here's your document. That shows that we've done this. That's the whole process that's going on. Yesterday, interim leader of the New Democratic Party of Canada, Don Davies, came out and made a statement.
He's a special little boy, isn't he?
It seems so.
The second thing I want to announce today is that New Democrats met in caucus this morning, and we decided that we are going to be voting no to the throne speech. 1.2 million Canadians sent New Democrats to this Parliament to advocate for working families across this country. And yet, in this throne speech, we don't see those priorities reflected. Millions of Canadians don't have access to an affordable home. They don't have access to timely health care, and they don't have access to the good family-sustaining jobs that they need. And yet the throne speech doesn't even mention the words health care. You won't even find those words.
Healthcare is provincial. Jesus. This guy's the leader of the NDP.
Interim. And remember,
but still.
And remember, 3 of the 7 members of the party aren't really happy with the way he was chosen. The three that happen to be visible minorities, by the way.
This is pathetic. It is a provincial responsibility. It's not your jurisdiction. They can send money, but that's it.
It's pretty much all the government does.
I'm like, why do federal party members keep doing this?
Except for veteran and Indigenous health, of course. But
right. Yes.
It's pretty much the only thing. Yeah. They're basically a funder.
Okay, we'll continue. Sorry, I had to say that.
I know, it's just dumb.
In the throne speech, there is no mention of non-market housing, cooperative housing, or housing for Indigenous people, some of the most acute needs in this country when it comes to affordable housing. And it foreshadows $28 billion in cuts that will absolutely hurt working people across this country. So we will be voting no against the throne speech and making sure that the interests of working people across this country are reflected, and we'll continue to fight for those measures that we know that so many millions of Canadians and working families need in this country.
On tariffs, just
All right. So he is then. So.
Sorry.
I know. So I'm hearing this and I'm going like, what the hell is wrong with this party? Because that's two now.
Yeah.
Right? On the amendment. Now, on the amendment presented by Scheer, that was allegedly to force the government to table a spring budget. Right? Got to make a couple things clear because I read the chat here yesterday after the show. This was not a problem with the party whip. A lot of people are saying, well, the party whip should have done it, should have got the votes to pass it. No. The party whip did his job perfectly. They knew they were not going to win it, right? And the reason they knew they were not going to win it is because the Conservatives watered down their motion so much by urging, not demanding, and that it be an economic statement or a budget. Well, urging to present an economic statement is something that Elizabeth May could vote for. Forcing to present a spring budget, probably not. So they watered it down so much to be able to get to give permission for the NDP and the Greens to happen. So the Liberals saw that they knew it wasn't going to pass. Yes, the paired votes is something that the whip is supposed to do and make sure happens. That if people can't be there. So they knew they were going to lose that vote going into it, because it's the whips of the other parties who almost screw themselves over, because all the Liberals had to do is decide that they were not going to respect pairing, which would have created a whole other slew of problems for the future and completely disrupted the trust of the entire chamber. But the Liberals could have been underhanded and say, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to pair actually. And then we win 168-2.
It's like,
right? So it's
what has happened to that party though?
I know, but I'm just saying that part was not the problem of the whip. The whip made sure that the votes were paired, respected the agreement, knew they were going to lose, knew that they weren't. It wasn't a confidence motion and it's non-binding and all that kind of stuff. So it's a vote that they can afford to lose. Yes, they'll wear a little bit of egg on their face, right? But they also have to present some type of document when they present the estimates anyway. So this is like no skin off to their teeth, right? It was a Pyrrhic victory for the other side. You want to put it. It's embarrassing, yes. Because, and clearly that was the goal, to set out to embarrass, clearly from the NDP, who voted for it, set up to embarrass the government right off the bat, because I guess they're not over it. Because the NDP has this thing where they, I truly believe that a lot of people in the NDP would prefer to have a conservative government than a liberal one. So if we can't have it, you can't either, type thing, which is not healthy. And they're a little obsessed with that. So again, they voted against the government on the first thing. But this one, because the House leader declared a confidence motion, it's an actual confidence motion. So now you have the interim leader of the NDP saying, I am now going to create a situation where it is possible. Because if it was just the Bloc and the Conservatives, it's not enough votes. But once the NDP declares, you know what, we're going to vote against it, well then, the Bloc who, by the way, was already been on record a long time ago stating that they will give this government about a year and a half or so because it is the Bloc's belief that Trump really wants a deal before the midterms. So we're going to give you the time to negotiate this deal before the midterms. So I guess the NDP was feeling brave that the government wouldn't fall so that they could take this position again to distinguish themselves or mark a contrast a couple of 1 month into a 4-year term. Nobody's going to remember that you marked contrast. Why are you doing this? It's dumb. But they can't let go.
Nope.
I guess, and maybe they just got a little post supply and confidence agreement PTSD that's like, okay, like right from the bat, let's just like get far away as possible from the liberals. Now, that Mark Carney's a bit center right. That certainly helps the NDP doing that. I don't think they have to make too much contrast at this point. It's not like Carney's like crowding their turf on. Well, I guess he is in a way. I mean, he is expanding going forward with the expansion of dental care. So, but even though he is doing some things that appeal to life, he's not talking about them all that much. Like keeping the focus on the stuff on center right. There's no need to establish contrast at this point. And basically, this guy is saying that it creates an opportunity for the Bloc Québécois to say, hey, wait a minute. If the NDP are going to vote for against it, well, if we want a shit disturb, we just have to say, you know what, we changed our mind, we're going to vote against it, and then the government falls.
Yeah,
Because,
which will not make anybody popular. We just had a federal election.
Again,
we don't want another one.
Because every time we elect a minority parliament, what do the opposition parties go and say? Canadians voted for a parliament that would be people working together.
Then do that.
Not so partisan.
Then work together.
So NDP, Canadians elected a minority parliament. And your first move is, let's make it fall. Way to go, guys. I have a little bit of Creek Pete in me today.
Well, I've got a clip from Creek Pete, but we'll have to look at this one from
Now he's asked, of course, about the consequence of this. And now, of course, nobody does smug passive aggressiveness like a Canadian. Nobody does smug sanctimony like an NDPer.
Assuming that there's going to be enough votes to pass the throne speech, otherwise an election could be triggered. So is that a danger you're concerned about?
Well, in a minority parliament, you're always concerned about the impacts of our votes, but we're taking a principled approach. We've scanned the throne speech very carefully from cover to cover, and it's frankly, it's a conservative light throne speech. It's not a throne speech that reflects the priorities of New Democrats or the working Canadians that we represent. And so, we're taking the principled position on the throne speech, and we'll see what the other parties.
So it's a principled position. Put a pin in that, because that'll come up later too. Right? So, big announcement. We're going to vote it down. Right? Nothing in healthcare. It's not a federal responsibility. Now, when I say, I have to qualify as well, because when I said federal takes funds and basically takes care of Indigenous and veteran healthcare, there are other things that federal government does in healthcare, like, for example, improvement of pharmaceuticals and testing and all that kind of stuff. General national public health sort of policy and all kind of. They do more, right? It's not just that, but in terms of healthcare delivery to Indigenous populations and veterans, that's it, right? So this party is basically coming to the world and announcing, it's like, we are not a serious party.
Yeah, I mean, they're shouting it from the rooftops.
Right? He talks about housing in there. There's nothing in there. Okay.
That's not true.
There was a section in housing in the speech of the throne, but in interviews, the prime minister, we showed it to you, is literally on record saying that we are going to be starting with deeply affordable housing.
Yes. That's his primary goal is housing. He campaigned on it.
But starting the government could have started anywhere, right? Remember when Stephen Harper funded people like this, he funded people that already have enough money for a down payment and made it a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Because and took all the money out of deeply affordable housing. This
Yes.
government says, like, if we are going to be building government housing on government land that we're going to lease, like this, that is geared to income. Like this, that's where we're starting with. Right? So apparently, I don't know if this guy missed the memo. So, well, you may have said it, but it's not in the speech from the throne, so we can't vote for it. It's like, you're not living in reality, sir. You're not living in reality at the moment. So yeah, he published a tweet to go along with that similar type of discourse, but I will read it for you here. He said, the Liberal throne speech failed workers in many ways, totally ignoring healthcare, non-market housing and protections in the face of Trump's threats. It sets the stage for $28 billion in cuts. Supporting Canada's workers is central to New Democrats. Our votes will depend on it. I'm not sure as well how it says it does not, how it fails workers, given that, again, we're doing the whole counter tariff thing. And unlike the Conservatives who wanted to fund a tax cut with it, we're actually going to be supporting the industries and the workers with it.
Yes, we're going to give you a tax cut. I don't have a job.
Right. So I'm not sure where he's getting this
Yeah, I don't
kind
know.
of stuff. Now, somebody made a really interesting comment. I'm not sure where I stand on it like this, but it was really interesting.
Mhm.
At MSW Researcher, that's exactly my take as well. I resent the direction this party has gone in, but here's evidence that it's not the fault of Jagmeet Singh because he's gone, and the nonsense is not.
Correct.
And when you add that to the way that Davies was chosen as an interim leader with some type of process that 3 of the 7 are not fine with, and the 3 of the 7 happen to be female and visible minorities, because
Mhm.
and the 4 white people all agreed on the process. And the couple of interviews I've heard with Heather McPherson, who might be potentially the next leader if Rachel Notley doesn't enter the race, and she's talking about things that are not particularly relevant to the current reality or moment, and is not particularly admitting to herself yet the truth about why the NDP may have taken a hit. You put that together, I do not know where this party is going.
Yeah. Well, and hear from Jillian. The throne speech is for everyone, not just workers. Marxist vibes there.
Hmm.
Oh, I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I want to share this clip from our friend Creek Pete because it's good. I don't know. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. I thought it's 2 minutes and 27 seconds, but it's Creek Pete and we love him. So I like this. Give it a watch.
Okay, trigger warning. I'm probably going to piss off some people here, but if you know me, it's probably not going to come that much of a surprise. So NDP, what the fuck are you doing?
I want to announce today is that New Democrats met in caucus this morning, and we decided that we are
all
going to be
7
voting
do?
no to the throne speech. 1.2 million Canadians sent New Democrats to this parliament to advocate for working families across this country. And yet, in this throne speech, we don't see those priorities reflected. Millions of Canadians don't have access to an affordable home. They don't have access to timely health care. And they don't have access to the good family-sustaining jobs that they need. And yet the throne speech doesn't even mention the words healthcare. You won't even find those words in the throne speech. There is no mention.
I can't. I mean, this is just so stereotypical NDP. I mean, like, it's been a week, and you didn't solve all the world's problems, so we're gonna huff and puff. Like, you're so stupid. Like, Mark Carney, you know, you've been in office for a month. You haven't built millions of houses yet? What's your problem? We're going to vote against you. Healthcare? Who cares if it's provincial? Don't worry, we're going to vote against you. Like, this is so stupid. This is why I can't stand the NDP. I'm sorry.
It's right. It's just.
And Conservatives are doing the exact same thing on the budget.
This is what pisses me off. Right? NDP is not supposed to be doing this.
No.
and they're doing it.
Yeah.
And like who was it said? This was happening under Jagmeet Singh. He's no longer there. It's still going on. So there's something deeply seated within the party, or an advisor, or somebody is doing this.
Yeah.
Because we got I would get pissed every time Jagmeet did something stupid like that.
Yeah. So there's something weird going on. And even weirder, I guess after that happened, Mr. Davies' phone started ringing off the hook like crazy because no vote was held.
Mm-hmm.
And the throne speech, the reply and address to the throne speech, the vote on that, passed unanimously. How does that happen? Well, the government whip, Mark Garrison, put an end to the drama by calling for the motion to be carried on division. And there were no objections. Now, what does that mean? When a debate on a motion has concluded, the Speaker puts the question for the House to make a decision. Motions may be adopted or defeated without a vote. So the Speaker will ask the members participating, is the House ready for the question? So the government whip called the question. The Speaker says, is the House ready for the question? And if there are no dissenting voices, the motion is adopted without a vote. If nobody says no to the question, the motion is adopted without a vote. So the NDP, that said, we are going to vote against this. When it came time to be asked, do you want to vote? Do you want to hold a recorded vote? Came down with a sudden acute case of mutism.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they got a lot of phone calls. So it's a matter of principle.
Well, it's clearly...
How do those principles taste? Because you swallowed yourselves whole while holding them.
It's clearly no longer the party of Tommy Douglas or Ed Broadbent. And it hasn't been for some time. I mean, and look, I liked Jack Layton. I did. Thought he was a good man. But we could have had childcare years ago.
And reconciliation, because there was Kelowna, of course, there was two things. We keep on
He
forgetting
held
that Kelowna Courts was there too.
He's responsible for that.
Yes.
So
I just had a debate with that with someone again yesterday. It's like, oh no, that didn't. It's like the Liberals. It's like, yeah, the NDP always said that the Liberals were never going to deliver on childcare, but they delivered in 2005. There were 10 agreements signed, and 3 days after the 10th agreement was signed, the NDP participated in making the government fall, which led to a government of Stephen Harper, which meant there was no childcare for real for the next 10 years. It was just like $100 per month sort of subsidy type thing that you already had to have money.
Yeah, you only got that if you were.
Yes, because if you could front the childcare money for a full year at full price, and then because the Justin Trudeau Liberals come in and boom, we get childcare again. And then the NDP that entire decade and until childcare was in place kept on saying the Liberals keep on promising, but they never delivered when they are the ones who killed it.
You know, I've heard some folks go off about how, well, I had to pay for childcare. They should too. I'm like, aren't we supposed to advance as a society and make things better for those who come behind us? We're not supposed to pull the ladder up once we get on the roof.
I got mine.
We're supposed to build an escalator. Like, why do I don't understand why people think that way? Like, is it anger? Is it hatred? What is it? Why do people think that way? I got mine and I had to do it. I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps. Yeah, but that guy doesn't even have shoes, let alone boots. So how is he going to pull himself up by his bootstraps?
I don't want my tax dollars going to someone who's too lazy to get it done themselves.
But they don't have shoes. But the thing is, that's what tax dollars are for.
Yes, I know.
When I had the conversation with my buddy, we were in Uruguay on vacation, and he lives in Oslo, Norway, and I said to him, I noticed that Norway doesn't have a lot of charitable organizations. Like you have International Red Cross and UNICEF and that sort of thing, but nothing really for Norwegians. And he just said to me, Paul, when you build society correctly, you don't need charity. That's what taxes are for. And I went, oh, shit, yeah. And you find a Norwegian, and they pay very high taxes. Find a Norwegian who complains about it. Even the wealthy ones don't, because their mindset is we have to help each other. This is a society. This is a community. We need to help each other. And that's what our taxes do. And the beauty of it is when their tax dollars are put to waste, their politicians are held to task for it. And they do not mess around, which is something we need to get in line here. It's like I said, close the loopholes. Well, thanks everybody for the joy. But like I said, close the loopholes. Like when the Conservatives were freaking out that Brookfield moved everything to Bermuda to save on taxes. I'm like, well, you created it. You're the ones who designed the system. Oh, and look at that. Who's invested in Brookfield? Melissa Landsman, Pierre Poilievre. Hypocrites of the highest order.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, NDP. 1.2 million Canadians voted for us, and we didn't see them represented. Okay,
Where'd they
I
get
get
that?
that. But I get that part. You know,
But
if you
where
want
did
to
they
go to
get
that
that
part,
card from? Whose deck did they steal that card from?
I have no idea. But I get that as a point of rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. Yes. But again, minority parliament right away. I guess if it falls at this point, the next move is for the Governor General to ask the Conservatives if they can form a government. Why would you want that when the entire reason you didn't vote for the election in September is because you were afraid the Conservatives would what what are you doing? So like I said, I have to believe the government was always confident the entire time that the vote on the speech, we'll say the vote for the speech on the speech from the throne, it's not the address in reply to the speech from the throne, but that's a mouthful. The vote on the speech from the throne was going to go their way. Now, Mr. McKinnon would never not say how it is he knew. So, but again, that statement by the Bloc, probably had a couple of phone calls that says, yeah, we're not going back on that. This is just so silly. Right. So, if the NDP was really aware of that, of course, the NDP can go out and stunt, like this and make this big moment and know that they are actually not risking the country because the Bloc is firmly on the side and that the votes are there. Yes. So when you know that, then you're doing this to establish, like I said, contrast, to distinguish yourself, to get some media time, to get some visibility. Yes. But then you got to follow through. You're going to do it because now you just went through the entire nation saying that you're going to vote against it. You've got tongues wagging. You've got people buzzing. And I'm scrolling all over like this. When is the vote? Where's the vote? And I'm looking at our comments for the votes result like this, and there's no vote result. I'm what the hell happens? And it's sort of like yesterday on the National, it was one sentence. It passed on, and that was it, without any explanation of why or what happened or reference to Don Davies. Don Davies didn't even make the national news at night.
No, but
for all of this effort,
here somewhere.
but torched
here's
his reputation.
Here's his tweet. The Liberal throne speech failed workers in many ways, totally ignoring healthcare, non-market housing, and protections in the face of Trump's threats. It sets the stage for $28 billion in cuts, supporting Canada's workers central to New Democrats. Our votes will depend on it.
The moment came, and they asked, "Do you want to vote?" And not one of the 7 of you said yes. You said you were doing it because it was a principle. And you didn't follow through on your own stated principles, that you made time to stand in front of a camera, in front of national TV, to claim you had. What the hell?
What the hell?
What the hell you say?
Dudes, get yourselves organized, man. This is not it.
No.
This is not how you build trust. This is not how you inspire confidence. And this is not how you get your voters back.
I got to run. I got a jet. It is 8:30. I do want to share a quick clip. I don't know if you're going to have time to talk about Bill 5 here in the province of Ontario or not, sir, but I do want to share this clip, which is important. You need to understand what's happening with Bill 5. Here in the province of Ontario, Bill 5, which was passed in the provincial parliament yesterday, and Doug Ford was not there for the vote, go figure, because protesters were in the gallery yelling about it. Bill 5 basically is a cudgel that will eliminate environmental studies, people's rights, people's property, just so, companies can build stuff, basically. Have a look at this clip, and I'll meet you on the other side.
If you're going to do something on our lands, you need our permission. Read my lips, permission.
The new act, also called Bill 5, is aimed at making it easier for developers to get projects off the ground in mineral-rich areas.
The Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act has infuriated environmentalists, civil liberties groups, and First Nations.
This bill contains no checks or balances of any kind. It represents a shocking and unprecedented power grab.
Part of Ford's ongoing agenda to dismantle the province.
It'll cut through the red tape and the delays so we can get shovels in the ground to build big things faster.
The province is set to create so-called special economic zones that would suspend provincial and municipal laws for certain projects.
Premier Doug Ford has his eyes set on a mine in a region of northern Ontario called the Ring of Fire.
Even if it means bulldozing
our treaty
rights and sovereignty.
Is not red tape. Our rights are not red tape, and the rights of our children to have a prosperous future is not red tape.
The very concept of fast-tracking infrastructure on Indigenous lands contradicts the legal principle of free, prior, and informed consent.
It also lets developers skip ecological and archaeological assessments, putting burial ground.
Even the Toronto Zoo is critical of the bill that would scrap the province's Endangered Species Act and might disrupt the habitats of endangered animals.
Most species are in decline due to significant habitat loss. Bill 5 would be catastrophic for biodiversity and will accelerate these declines.
I'm just going to back that up for a second here. Workers aren't safe either. Labor leaders warn that special economic zones could wipe out key rights and protections. Bill Ford and Bill 5's special economic zones brings the worst U.S.-style labor practices to our province, warns CUPE Ontario. No one voted to turn Huntsville, Ontario into Huntsville, Alabama.
Ooh.
Under the guise of fighting tariffs, Doug Ford plans on delivering workers to the Wild West of working conditions, all to the benefit of big business. CUPE Ontario President Fred Hannon. Bill 5 is now moving through Queen's Park. It will become law before summer recess begins on June 5th. Part of a growing national playbook moving from BC to Quebec to Parliament Hill. Fast-track resource extraction, gut protections, sideline Indigenous rights and sovereignty, all under the guise of fighting Trump's trade war. There are growing calls for a new wave of resistance.
Should this bill proceed in its current form, we will be idle no more.
If they think they can legislate over us without consequence, they are about to learn what happens when a nation has nothing left to lose and everything to defend.
Yeah. That was from The Breach, breachmedia.ca, BREACH media.ca.
Yes. Highly recommended.
Yes, very much so. So, yeah, this Bill C5 is a very bad thing. Very bad thing. And it's been rammed through. And guess what? If we don't do something to fight it, people are going to suffer horribly. I have one more thing to say just before I go, because this just came across my feed and I can't believe it's a real thing, but it's a real thing. You're not going to believe this. Sure, you'll believe it, but it's like, yeah, of course, because that makes sense. The Trump administration is spending $2 million to figure out whether DEI causes plane crashes.
Oh my God.
I can't make this up.
Okay.
This is a legit story. It's from the Atlantic. It's a legitimate story. And on that bizarre note, folks, I will take my leave. I will see you soon. Until such time as we are together again, I hope you have a wonderful day. You take care.
Bye, my friend. Oh my God. These people. Oh my God. They literally, you have to study it now. Okay. All right. Sure. Knock yourselves out, man. All right. So yes, Bill 5, as Mr. Grizzly has mentioned, how you know it was a real Doug Ford vote to screw the people. Quote, the premier was not in his seat for the vote. Because, heaven forbid, that dumbass Dougie Donuts should get dirt on his very, very soft hands while he's screwing the people. Right? That would be a terrible thing to happen, wouldn't it? Now, it seems that Mr. Ford was not the only person that was not there at all. It would seem that I think the deputy leader as well, I believe, was not there. And the person, I can't remember his name at the moment, but there was an MPP from the Conservative government that was raising a stink because I think there was a landfill or something like that that was going to be imposed on a community, I believe. Yeah, landfill in Dresden. There we go. So the premier and his deputy premier were not there. Neither was PC MPP Stephen Pinsonneau, who has been objecting to the bill doing away with an environmental assessment for a proposed landfill in Dresden. So he opposed it and he spoke out against it, but when it came time to actually vote, he didn't show up on it, so there could be a recorded vote, which would embarrass his government. So the bill passed by a vote of 71 to 44. Yeah. And there's a particular moment of irony in this whole thing because Doug Ford yesterday was commenting on what Trump has been doing with regard to those tariffs, right? Moving it up to from 25 to 50%. And Doug Ford had a lot to say about that, which was rather interesting. And the reason why it's particularly interesting is that, how would you say it? The same behavior is at play. But when Donald Trump is doing it, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. But when Doug Ford himself is doing it, well, then suddenly Premier Porky Pig loses the ability to smell himself and realize that he's talking about himself when he is talking about Donald Trump. I'm just going to have this. This is yesterday from the National. Just a couple of seconds. But try not to choke on how rich this is.
Carney he should retaliate too.
We can't sit back and let President Trump steamroll us, try to shut down our steel industry, take jobs down to the U.S. He has no regard whatsoever for jobs here in Ontario, and we need to slap another 25% tariffs on the steel.
But
Oh, really? Trump is just bulldozing over you. You can't accept that. You need to stand up to that. You need to retaliate. Interesting, because Indigenous people are feeling the exact same way about you with what you're doing with Bill 5. So since you recommended that in face of the bulldozer that is Trump, that this is the course of action, then surely you would agree that against the bulldozer that is you, similar action would be appropriate and warranted. Right, Mr. Ford? Oh, no. That's not the case, of course, because this is different. Right? This is different. On that one, Mr. Ford had something to say, sort of like, well, you know, um, it's not something I would recommend them doing. And, well, I mean, that will be a decision for the OPP. Interesting. Because again, Mr. Ford, we very, very distinctly remember a situation in Ottawa not too long ago where there were people that were disruptive, and you seem to have forgotten where Ottawa was on the map. And I wonder what is the difference between the people of Ottawa who showed up to protest for nearly 4 weeks and disrupted stuff and Indigenous people who would be protesting because you're trying to take their land again. Wonder what the difference is. It's white on the tip of my tongue. Colin DeMello. Premier Doug Ford says if Bill 5 protesters blockade highways, quote, they will be dealt with appropriately. Asked what that means, Ford said, it would be up to the OPP, and says it wouldn't be very wise. One of the things about Doug Ford is that he doesn't seem to play into the racist stuff too much, except, it seems, when it's Indigenous. Right? He likes to say, I'm the mayor of Ontario, because there are people of various ethnicities in the great state of Etobicoke. I'm not racist. But if people who are white are protesting and disrupting stuff, you allow that to go on for 3.5 weeks, close to 4. If people who are red even hint at the idea of protesting, that wouldn't be very wise. It would be up to the OPP. I see you, Father Mucker. I see you coming. Not great. Now, in that clip, you saw somebody mention idle no more. And yeah, that is what's going to happen here. We are going to get idle no more too. Still not idle. He's provoking this. And the thing that I don't understand about this Bill 5 thing is that we just had this meeting. We just had this meeting, which it was the best meeting ever, where everybody was talking about respecting Indigenous title and treaty and all that kind of stuff. Everybody was talking about it. And you want these bills apparently to get these projects to get fast-tracked. And, whoops. Sorry, kits and cups. That started and wasn't supposed to start. You want these projects to go quickly, but you are creating a situation in your own province that is going to lead to protest and court cases and a whole bunch of stuff, which is going to create, again, a climate of uncertainty, which is unattractive to business. With the one hand, you're working with the federal government to try to create the framework to speed things up, and with the other hand, you are sabotaging it with your damn freaking fetish for expediency. Danielle Smith is doing the same damn thing in Alberta. She's encouraged that they're talking about a pipeline, but at the very same time, she's still pushing a sovereignty debate. Who's going to want to invest in that climate? So they say they want these things, but they are not taking the steps necessary to make sure that they get them. It's almost like they would rather that the problem persist so that they can campaign and fundraise off it, rather than actually solving it. These two are going to have to back down in some way on these two things if they are serious about their projects, getting approval, finding proponents, and reaching completion. Because going to war with your own country in Alberta and going to war with the people who had original title in Ontario, creating financial instability, creating legal instability, is not conducive to getting those projects approved and funded quickly. At some point, them two are going to have to climb down on something. And I don't know if Doug Ford has the ego to climb down on that. Like, we've seen Doug Ford climb down on stuff to save his own hide. But I have never, ever, 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 ever seen Doug Ford climb down on anything related to Indigenous people. Ever. He just does not like them. This is not good in any way, shape, or form. The Narwhal, fantastic publication, has a wonderful article called Bill 5 Explained that you might want to look at if you have the time to do so. It's really, really good. It's by Fatima Sayed. Now, the Narwhal usually does some in-depth stuff here, and not sure if I can read it all to you today, but there's a lot of stuff in here. If you want to know what it is, the Narwhal is really a good source for in-depth analysis and explanation. But according to Fatima Sayed, Premier Doug Ford's third term has begun with yet another attempt to build lots of things quickly in Ontario. As has become the pattern, one of the Progressive Conservatives' first move after winning the 2025 election was to introduce sweeping omnibus legislation, Bill 5, or the Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act. Introduced in April on the eve of the Easter long weekend, the bill proposes to overhaul a number of regulations to accelerate energy and infrastructure development, as well as mineral extraction projects the government says are of strategic importance to the province. The bill waters down the rules that protect endangered species, because who needs that, right? And natural heritage sites maintain oversight of mining activities, require respect for constitutionally guaranteed Indigenous rights, and mandate environmental assessments and protections. Taken together, Bill 5 blunts the regulations that ensure construction and extraction don't cause undue harm to land, water, wildlife, and human health. It also empowers Cabinet to create special economic zones where the laws that do remain can be circumvented to facilitate development. While the province's press release on Bill 5 is chock full of supportive quotes from mining executives and business organizations, the public response from several Indigenous organizations and environmental groups is one of deep concern. Several First Nations of Treaty 9, which covers the mineral-rich Ring of Fire in Northern Ontario that the government has promised to, quote, unlock, as an economic hub, responded with an open letter to the province stating they would go to court over the omnibus bill if necessary. Quote, "These lands are not Ontario's to do with as they wish. They are our ancestral lands. We have always been here and are going nowhere," Donnie Morris, chief of the Kitchenou Me Kupsip Ininuwug, said in the letter. Whatever Ford and his government might want their base to think, nothing is happening up here without our consent. Ontarians can provide feedback on Bill 5 via the Environmental Registry of Ontario until May 17th. So I'm guessing this was written a while ago here. Yeah, this was written May 14th. A government committee is scheduled to hold public meetings on Bill 5 on May 22nd and 26th. Here's everything you need to know. The government has stated its rationale for the bill is to protect Ontarians from my God, I'm having trouble today. The government has stated its rationale for the bill is to protect Ontario from economic uncertainty spurred by U.S. President Donald Trump's on-again, off-again tariff threats. But many are skeptical of this reasoning. Quote, Bill 5 should not be considered in legislative and policy isolation as a one-time paradigm shift in response to a suddenly hostile neighbor. The Canadian Environmental Law Association wrote in a report to the government, asking it to withdraw the bill. Instead, the association said the bill, quote, is an extension of a more than half a decade-long series of new laws putting Ontario's environment at risk. The groundwork for the bill was set in the government's April throne speech kicking off its third legislative term. In it, progressive conservatives promised to eliminate red tape by restoring, quote, sense and sanity to a labyrinth of rules and regulations that bring development in the province to a standstill. In that speech, the Ford government also promised to further streamline, quote, the province's environmental assessment process and bring common sense principles to the role of conservation authorities and species at risk requirements. And again, common sense principles to bring sense and sanity to a labyrinth of rules and regulations that bring development to the provinces to a stand. These are empty words that mean nothing onto which anybody can project anything. It is extremely unspecific language. Bill 5 was introduced 2 days later by Energy and Mines Minister Stephen Lecce, who said it would, quote, create a new one project, one process model to cut government review timelines by 50% and establish special economic zones while protecting our environment. I'm going to call BS on that. If passed, Bill 5 would allow the government to put regulations in place to create zones where, quote, trusted proponents and, quote, designated projects. I wonder what earns Doug Ford's trust. Stag and doe, anyone? I digress. The province deemed the Ring of Fire one such zone, but after significant pushback said on May 28th it would only do this after consulting First Nations following the bill's passage. The government also introduced an amendment to include a category of special economic zones led by First Nations. Of course, it probably would have been nice to include First Nations in the actual drafting of this bill instead. Few details were provided on what conditions, situations, or proposals would warrant the need for such zones, of course, because conditions will bind you to stuff and they can be debated and, you can be criticized. So let's not provide those conditions. And that may or may not come when the specific regulation is written. But there are no limits on the size, location, or identity of the areas and businesses or projects that the government could choose to favor with this law, and it can decide this without a vote in the legislature. In the context of a government with a well-documented track record of weakening environmental rules in ways that could benefit some, this power is particularly concerning to many onlookers. The Canadian Environmental Law Association cautions the legislature to, quote, take care that special economic zones do not end up being little more than law-free sacrifice zones that severely impact the most vulnerable communities in Ontario society. Several municipalities have asked that the Ford government whether these powers would exempt developers from rules regarding water and ecological conservation, as well as sustainable growth and development. Quote, the lack of detail and clarity in the actual legislation raises significant concerns with respect to the potential for provincial overreach/interference in local decision-making and the sidestepping of important environmental and other requirements. A May 13th staff report prepared for the Council of Oxford County in southwestern Ontario reads, The Ford government has already been consolidating powers to fast-track development through ministers' zoning orders, also known as MZOs, that override municipalities. Ontario's Auditor General found the Ford government used this tool 114 times from 2019 to 2023, which is a 17-fold increase in usage from the previous 20 years. It is unclear how special economic zones would work in tandem with the minister's zoning orders. Bill 5 grants the government unlimited powers to provide any proponent or business with the ability to conduct any activity it wants in any area the government chooses without oversight. That's just dumb. That has led to concern among First Nations, especially those in the Ring of Fire, where the province wants a special economic zone designation to address delays in developing mines and associated infrastructure. Those delays are primarily because of the need to assess the potentially devastating impact of construction in a very large, critical, and sensitive environment. With Bill 5, the government is effectively removing the safeguards for the Ring of Fire. It exempts development from both ecological and archaeological assessments, which risks the destruction of First Nation burial sites, artifacts, and lands. After immense blowback from First Nations leaders during the committee hearings on the bill, the province added an amendment on May 28th recognizing the duty to consult, which is already enshrined in the Constitution and has been upheld by the Supreme Court. The bill does not clarify how First Nations will be able to participate in these discussions. Quote, Bill 5 reflects a dangerous and false narrative that presumes the Government of Ontario has unilateral authority to legislate over lands and resources without consultation or consent, Anishinaabe Nation Grand Council Chief Linda DeBasigi said in a statement. Quote, our lands and resources are not for the province to sell, exploit, or regulate away as economic corridors, especially without our consent. Along with the Kitchenume Kusib Inunuwig, Atawapiskat First Nation, and Apitipi Anisinikapek Nation have vowed to take the Ford government to court if the bill is passed. Quote, we will also rely on our own laws and the powers of people who understand that selling out our lives and future for instant gratification of votes and money is not a viable choice. It's a death sentence, Chief June Black of the Apitipi Anisinapek Nation said in a joint statement. Chief Sylvia Kustashin Metatawabin of the Atawapiskat First Nation called the idea that mining could protect Canada from Trump misleading. Quote, if any mine is ever allowed in the Ring of Fire, it's 10 years away anyway, she said in the same statement. There are no roads up there as of yet. Mines don't just get dropped down from the sky and start running right away. A lot of infrastructure and construction is required first. By the time a mine could start operating up here, Trump will be a distant memory. We hope. The powers proposed in Bill 5 are extremely broad, raising concerns the government is avoiding public accountability and shielding itself from civil liability. The bill includes protection against lawsuits for anyone involved in a project within a special economic zone. It also bars legal action against the government, the Independent Electricity System Operator, and Ontario Power Generation, both of which are Crown corporations, regarding energy decisions made via this new legislation. The bill vaguely empowers the minister to direct these agencies to stop buying goods and services from certain countries, regions, or territories. In March, the Ontario Court of Appeal determined this sort of broad-based clause insulating government from legal challenge does not violate the Charter of Rights and Freedom. The proposed legislation replaces the province's 18-year-old Endangered Species Act with a narrower Species Conservation Act. The new law gives Cabinet, not a committee of scientists as was previously the case, the power to decide which animals and plants should be protected and abolishes obligations for the government to create recovery strategies and report on them. Yeah, because that's what the planet needs right now. Politicians, not scientists making decisions about who should live or die. Come on. Any other decisions about species at risk can also be delegated to the deputy minister or, quote, any other employee in the ministry, raising concerns about a lack of accountability and transparency in the execution of the new act. In Ontario's environmental registry listing for the new law, which is open for comments until May 17th, so again, it's passed, you notice that the comment section was very short. The government said the previous Endangered Species Act was too complicated and delayed housing, transit, and infrastructure projects. The new version prioritizes sustainable economic growth. You would think that an Endangered Species Act would prioritize protecting endangered species. Maybe. The new version prioritizes sustainable economic growth as a factor in decisions related to the protection of endangered species, removing the previously stated recovery and stewardship goals. In a joint letter, over 100 civil and environmental organizations, including the National Farmers Union, the Ontario Nature, the Toronto Zoo, and various naturalist clubs across the province, urged the government to halt this move. Quote, nationally, Ontario is now an outlier when it comes to preserving nature and biodiversity, the letter reads. That does not mean stopping all development. It means building strong local economies that are in harmony with nature, not in conflict. Notably, Bill 5 eliminates the government's 2019 proposal to allow developers to put money into a conservation fund rather than taking steps to protect species. Decried as a pay-to-slay scheme, the money collected was supposed to be used for research and the protection of habitat. However, 6 years later, the program has never been properly administered. Bill 5 requires the money collected thus far, an unknown amount estimated to be in the millions, quote, to be spent on activities that are in alignment with species protection and conservation goals. Bill 5 weakens the province's environmental assessment laws, particularly to exempt two projects that have the potential for massive ecological impact. The first is the proposed Eagle's Nest multi-metal mine in the Ring of Fire, which was approved for an environmental assessment in 2015. The second is a waste disposal facility proposed by York One in Chatham, Kent, that was approved for an assessment in 2024 after local residents demanded it. It is not clear why the government has decided to use special legislation to exempt both projects from environmental review. In the bill's technical briefing, the province said the Eagle's Nest mine's assessment is, quote, outdated, as the scope has changed since the company voluntarily agreed to a review more than a decade ago. Details on what has changed were not made clear. In a statement, Neskatanga First Nation, whose lands Eagle's Nest mine is proposed on, said the environmental assessment process is, quote, currently the main channel for Indigenous consultation. The proposed mine sits on the Attawapiskat River, a highly sensitive water system that is the nation's, quote, lifeline. Bill 5 is a, quote, short-sighted approach to undermine our rights and interests, it said. Quote, there will be no bulldozing across the Attawapiskat River without our consent, the nation's statement reads. All attempts at fast-tracking to the Ring of Fire will fail. Our people will meet you on the land. The province's technical briefing on the bill also says the York One dump was exempted because of, quote, continued threats of border interruptions and tariffs that demand the province expand its landfill capacity. As of 2023, Ontario exports nearly a third of its trash across the border. Quote, just imagine if tomorrow President Trump, and don't put it past him, President Trump says we aren't taking any more of Ontario's waste, Ford told reporters on April 17th. What do we do? Reporting by the Trillium has found the developers of the dump site have donated roughly $200,000 to the Progressive Conservatives since they came to power, a connection that has led Liberal MPP Ted Hsu to ask the Integrity Commissioner to investigate as a matter of public interest. The government is proposing to create new, quote, streamlined approval process for mining by amending the Mining Act to emphasize, quote, protection of Ontario's economy, without a commitment to prevent harm to public health and the environment. To do this, the province wants to create a specific government office to help companies get authorizations more quickly. In the environmental registry listing, the government says this new timeline will not apply to the consultation process with Indigenous communities, but offers few details on how speed and meaningful consultation can coincide. Notably, the changes to the Mining Act also includes granting the minister more powers to suspend mining operations if deemed necessary. The bill would allow all proposals related to the controversial spa project on Toronto's waterfront to be exempt from posting on the Environmental Registry of Ontario for public review. Registry postings are currently a legal requirement for any project that could impact ecology or energy in Ontario. The change comes months after the province posted plans for a sewage pipe that would pump wastewater from the site into Lake Ontario, and then withdrew it after facing significant public opposition. So thank you to Fatima Sayed of the Narwhal for providing us with this knowledge and information as to what this bill is intended to do and all the risks and all the various laws included in the omnibus bill that it is affecting. Yeah, this is not a great bill in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, Indigenous community has already said that it is going to tie it up in the courts. I do not know how Doug Ford thinks that this is a plan that is going to work for him here. This is not good in any way, shape, or form. If Indigenous people are going to meet them on the land, there's going to be violence, there's going to be arrests, there is going to be very disturbing images all over our newscasts. Rights will be violated. I don't know how you could want expediency this much while simultaneously sabotaging yourself. The Chiefs of Ontario wrote a letter about it. And yeah, they are not happy at all with what's going on. I'm trying to find the letter here that they wrote, but I cannot find it off the top of my head here. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry. I might be able to find it on the Twitter here for you to see, because I would like to read into the record what it is that they did say with regards to this. Here it is. All right. Greetings, Premier Ford. We are writing formally to invite you to meet with Ontario leadership at the 50th anniversary Chiefs of Ontario Annual Chiefs Assembly scheduled to take place in Hiawatha First Nation from June 17th to June 19th, 2025. This gathering represents a vital opportunity to initiate meaningful and constructive dialogue between First Nations leadership and the Government of Ontario regarding Bill 5, quote, Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act 2025. This legislation, introduced without prior consultation with First Nations right holders, raises serious concerns due to its far-reaching implications on inherent treaty rights and community obligations to the land, waters, and wildlife. Your participation in this assembly would mark the beginning of a consistent, ongoing conversations necessary to address these significant challenges collaboratively. We emphasize that this is not a one-time meeting, but rather the start of a structured process of respectful and constructive dialogue. Your attendance would demonstrate a genuine commitment to fostering collaboration, advancing reconciliation, and promoting economic growth that incorporates First Nations knowledge and processes. We look forward to hearing from you soon and to welcoming you to Hiawatha First Nation. Peace, Abraham Benedict, Ontario Regional Chief. And that was dated June 3rd. So there will be developments on this. We will hear more. It's going to get messy. It's going to get messy. Yeah, we'll see what becomes of it. But yeah, be prepared for idle no more too. Here. Be prepared for idle no more too. And Ontario is not the only place where this is a problem. It seems that there are issues in British Columbia. There's something called Bill 14 and Bill 15, which narrowly passed. In fact, they needed the Speaker to break the tie. And the Indigenous community is not particularly happy about those bills either. Bill 15 in British Columbia is the Infrastructure Projects Act, and it's aimed at fast-tracking public sector projects like schools and hospitals, as well as private projects such as critical mineral mines that are deemed provincially significant. Bill 14 is the Renewable Energy Projects Streamline Permitting Act, which will speed up clean energy projects across the province. The BC Conservatives, BC Greens, and 3 independent MLAs voted against the bills, while Speaker Raj Chauhan cast the tie-breaking vote in favor, allowing them to pass third reading on Wednesday. The bills are expected to receive royal assent today. Yeah. So around the cabinet, around that First Minister's table, you heard a lot of talk about respecting Indigenous rights, and it was even in the criteria. But provincially, in the provinces, it seems that the premiers are not doing that, and that will be in contradiction. And I'm not sure whether or not Prime Minister Mark Carney will have to call both of them to order and say, "You need to fix this, because I don't care what you do, but you guys need to fix this and make these problems go away." Not the Indigenous people being the problems with them trying to run roughshod over them. Because none of my plan as Prime Minister is going to work if you keep on insisting on running over Indigenous title and rights and not wanting to meet your duty to consult. These things are incompatible. They cannot go together. They just can't. So they are not creating the situation that is necessary for these projects, even if they got the fast track approval to happen quickly because they are taking actions that will tie them up in courts or that will dissuade or discourage proponents from investing in them. You need predictability and stability. You don't get that when you are fighting with other nations, and you just don't get it. It's not going to happen, right? And with regard to Danielle's pipeline that she wants that has to cross BC territory, David Eby was not at the meeting because he was on a trade mission in Asia. So he wasn't in the room to catch all the good vibes. And he's making public statements that he's not for it. Now, with regard to a pipeline to Tidewater on the West Coast and the Northwest, a natural gas pipeline might be more attractive than an oil one. But right now, Premier Eby is not at all inclined to help. And given that Danielle Smith plays so nice with others, I'm sure he's going to be inclined to want to help her out anytime soon. Right? Again, got to create the conditions if you want the project to succeed. With regard to Bill 5, Kits and Cubs, one of the people who are gaining a lot of attention and making a name for themselves on this is Mr. Solomon Makwa, of course. And if you remember, we reported on this, he was asked to leave the legislature. He was booted from the legislature because he had stated that the premier was stating untruths, because in the Ontario legislature, you are not allowed to suggest that another member who's honorable is lying. He was asked to leave. And Mr. Mamakwa very happily did so because he was right. Let's listen to him here. Get some Cubs.
You know, there are First Nations that are behind me that have come from my riding that are in total opposition of Bill 5. And you know, like some of them flew in this morning, some of them flew in late last night. You know, like just a few stopped from you know, somewhere between Toronto and their home First Nation. That's a long way to go because they're not being heard, they're not being listened to, and I think it's important that you know, this government understands that you know, he does not honor or respect First Nations. This is not the wild, wild west. You know, there are people. We are the ones that live in these communities, on these lands. He does not live in those lands, and I think it's important that, you know, the way the answers to question period on Bill 5, that they're just plowing ahead. You cannot legislatively bulldoze your way. These are the people that were stopped at bulldozer coming north. And it's important that, you know, we are, and I think sometimes, you know, when I talk about, you know, I don't know more, like, you have to understand it's not a threat. What it is a, you know, like, I want them to listen. It's a warning.
So, yeah.
You know,
that is an important point that he's making here. Idle no more is not a threat, right? It's a wake-up call. You will notice that he used bulldoze in there, just like Doug Ford used bulldoze when he was talking about Trump. Doug Ford is not realizing to these people he is Trump. He's just another Trump. Oh, that territory up there, wouldn't it make a great resort hotel? Doug Ford, that territory up there, wouldn't it make a great mining project? It's literally the same behavior. The behavior that Doug Ford does not like in Donald Trump is the same behavior he's exhibiting. Doug Ford hates in other people that which is true about himself. absolutely nuts. Just nuts what he's doing here. So I expect that there will be challenges, like you said, and that you will see a lot more drama with regards to this. And it's going to get ugly before it gets better in any way, shape, or form, assuming it does get better. And the thing is, Mr. Mamakwa was asked point blank what it is that Doug Ford said that was untrue because he accused him of saying untruths. He said, what's true? That when he says he supports Indigenous treaty and title, when he supports free and prior consent, when he says he wants to work in collaboration with Indigenous communities. Those are lies because there's nothing in any behavior that indicates that it's true. Doug Ford says the words, but it's window dressing politics. Once you go into the store and try to order something, there's nothing in the shelves. There's nothing in stock. He's got nothing for them. It's unacceptable. You can't just go into someone else's land and say it's mine. This is not. Oh, yeah, I know. I see you in the chats here. Sounds Trumpy, lawless zones. I hate Ford, 100% hate. Cripes, I detest Doug Ford. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you, Cats. I hear you. The local Dresden, according to Kitland M here, the local Dresden C-A-R-E-D. I don't know if that's supposed to be pronounced CARED group because it's all in capitals. It's an acronym for something, I'm guessing. Fighting the landfill has been working closely with First Nations and Indigenous groups. Yeah. Because they have a mutual concern here. So, also seeing a comment here, a little unrelated. Whoever posted a comment that said, I have no faith in Carney's and Justin's crew. There is no Justin's crew. You might want to join us in June of 2025, sir. Just noticing. Times have changed. You're still stuck in the prison of your mind. There. Okay. Sorry, I have to say it. The mind is the greatest prison. It's like if you cannot accept that Justin is not a thing anymore, it's like there is no basis for a meaningful and productive conversation here to be had. There's only a bad faith conversation to be had that's being proposed, and we're going to pass on that. Thank you very much. Okay, it's just a waste of time. All right, kits and cubs. I think that is all I have for you today. So yeah, weird stuff. Just really weird stuff. Bulldozing over people, crying about being bulldozed over as you bulldozed. Hey, we're gonna vote non-confidence on this, and then not actually ask for a vote. It was just a wackadoodle day yesterday. People, hopefully, everybody's gotten a good night's sleep and is back to their senses somewhat, because what was going on yesterday, that's not it. That's not peace, order, and good governance. That's not smart democracy. That's not elected representatives doing smart things and playing the long game and putting the interests of people first. That's positioning and stunting and marking territory and asserting domination and a whole bunch of stuff. But there's nothing in there that serves anyone. There's nothing in there that's constructive or meaningful. It's like, again, it's like, we need to demand better. We're the bosses. That's why I keep on saying, write those letters. and ask for those performance reviews, those meetings. It's like, and tell your elected representatives, if you do this, you misunderstand me. See, you're thinking that if you do this, you're going to lose my vote. You're not only going to lose my vote, but I'm a person of influence in my circle. I will encourage everybody in my circle to not vote for you as well. I will make it my mission to ensure you lose. That's what you need to tell them, especially when they're going way over their skis like this. This is just not on. So at least he didn't put the notwithstanding clauses and stuff into the legislation, so it does make it challengeable in court. But this, again, I just have no other words. This is not it. It's not how you do things. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you share stuff and include some commentary of your own on it. That's always very helpful to us, and it really helps us with the algorithm. So thank you so very much for everything that you do to get the word out about our show. It helps a lot, and it's been showing in our numbers. Oh, by the way, for those of you you might not have been wondering, but as you know, last year we made a move from Megaphone to Acast as our carrier, and then a lot of people sort of like lost us and couldn't find us. Well, it seems that we are being found again every now and then. We're managing to chart again, although not that regularly. But the one place we know for sure that they are finding us again is a feed spot, which we would always end up we were ending up on the charts and were surprised with how well we were doing. I think at one point we were rated the number 3 best political, number 3 best podcast on Canadian politics available. Well, according to Mr. Grizzly, in May, we made it back onto the chart. They found us again. So right now we're at number 11, right behind Power and Politics. So hopefully, now that they found us, we'll be able to rise the charts again and maybe claim our number 4 and number 3 spot that we had before. And who knows, maybe even go above and beyond that and maybe claim number 2, maybe even number 1. Although number 1 is Peter Mansbridge's The Bridge, and it's pretty good and extremely popular. So that might be a bit of a heavy lift. But 3 is really, really, really nice considering how small we are. 3, I remember when it happened, it knocked us off our chair. It's like, really? Us? So it seems that people are finding us again, and which is really nice because we were really sad when all that was happening, and we knew that we were losing our audience and losing our listeners that we had built a relationship with. But either so many of you have found us again, or just, with the election, we've got new people, but we hope that the people that we sort of lost along the way have found us again because we've missed you. But now that we see ourselves on the feed spot charts, it does mean that everything seems to be working normally and as it was before. And we should be able to get back, hopefully, to where we were. Of course, there could be new entrants on the scene since then who do things better than we do, and it just means that we're going to have to work harder. Like Premier Holt said yesterday, we like a high bar. That's okay. There you go. Kitsasi, I don't know if you're here today, but you might have to use the wrench at some point, if you haven't already. All right, kids and cubs. Let's see. Yes, of course. If you would like to make sure that you do not miss an episode, because you know what? You are a beaver or a cub that's on the go, very busy, engaged in your community, making things happen, networking, making the world a better place. Well, don't worry if you can't sit by and watch. You can take us with you because we are portable. Yes, we come in videocast, but also in audiocast. And when you take us with you in audiocast, well, we're fun-sized. We can go anywhere you want. So, kids and cubs, if you would like to take us with you someday, well, you need to go to our pod page, sponsored generously by the Ray Girl. You just scan this QR code and it will bring you right there. And if you happen to be listening and want to go there, it's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click on subscribe, when we have something fresh off the presses or fresh off the bandwidth, I should say, zip right to you. Slide right into your box. You won't even feel us. I'm just being silly. We go right into your podcast feed. And right there, we'll just be waiting for you whenever you're ready for us. We'll be thoughtful and demure until you click on us, and then we'll get all happy. So give us a click. Subscribe. Thank you so much. Now, if you'd like to help us in other ways, Kit Elaine and Kit Cassie, who I know is working very, very hard and sends her greetings. The people who bring her greetings, thank you so much. We miss you. We miss you, but we are glad that things are going well. And by the way, Kit Tim, I saw in the chat there, job interview coming up. Go, go, go. Go get yours. Cheering for you, rooting for you real hard there. But if you would like to help us in other ways, well, then you need to grab your e-surfboard and hang 10 to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have 3 buttons for you to smash with. It's Pride Month. Go ahead, smash. Nobody's going to judge this month in particular. Like, share, subscribe. Let your freak flag fly. If you want to click all 3 at the same time, go ahead. If you want to come back 3 times and click each one of them, we won't judge. However you do it, just give us a click. Thanks a lot. It helps us with the algorithm. And if you happen to be listening on podcasts, if you can give us some stars and reviews, that helps us a lot too. Thank you so much. Now, kids and cubs, if there is another way that you would like to help us because you're feeling particularly helpful today, well, hey, a little contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, because we do incur some costs to bring the show to you, would be greatly appreciated. And thank you to everybody who donated to us last month. It really helped. I know that with the threats of tariffs and all that kind of stuff, a lot of you have been keeping your powder dry, and we have noticed it. And that's perfectly fine, because you got to take care of your home stuff first. Don't worry about that. But it was nice to see a rebound in May. So thank you so much for those of you who have either taken the time to calculate your finances and figure out what it is that you can give and have started giving again, or those who are new givers. All of it really does help. And every time we get one, it's a compliment, right? So it does make us feel good. We get a little warm fuzzy, and that you think of us at all in the first place means the world to us. But then yet you go all these extra steps for us. Again, the cup runneth over, unlike Skippy's. I had to. It was sitting right there. But if you would, and if you are able to, please, a donation to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund is very appreciated. And you can do that by scanning that QR code, or if you're listening, going to ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. No donation is too small. All right? Everything is appreciated, so don't worry about that. If you would like to ensure that your transaction is totally Canadian, because you are buying Canadian and you want to avoid the CE Tech Pros, especially the ones from the States, a direct transfer from your bank account to ours via the email address truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is the way to go. Your transaction is 100% Canadian, and bonus, we get 100% of your donation rather than just a percentage of it. So we thank you so very much for those of you who donate. Now, if you're not able to donate, please do not worry, because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. They are the most meaningful, having you with us every day, or all the days that you can make it. And with that, we do like to hear from you. And that same email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, is where you can write to us to let us know what you think about the show. Send us some comments, good, bad, or ugly. If they're ugly, please be gentle. We're very much into constructive criticism, however. So if you please do send it over, because it's your show too, and everything that you say goes back into the show. We do take it into account, and we try to work it in where we can and make the adjustments, improvements. So let us know what you think. If you have suggestions for guests, please let us know, and we'll try to get them on. We'll do our best. we don't always we don't necessarily have that much pull or weight, but every now and then, we punch above our weight and we do really well. So let us know, right? If you don't reach, you're not going to get. So let us know who you would like, and if you have some questions for us for our Q&A show that we want to do, then please send them to us. Any question about politics you would like our take on, you're wondering what we think about this or that, or shows questions about how the show operates, our philosophy, what it is that we do, all of it are welcome. So please, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. That's the way to reach us. You can also reach us via our socials at True Eager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter, also on Facebook, our original home, True North Eager Beaver. And if you happen to be listening on Twitter, either live with the Damn Fam or later at your own convenience and leisure, right down here in the comment section. Let us know what you think. We do read absolutely everything, even though we're not able to answer everybody. And we thank you for your contributions. All right, kids and cubs, because democracy is something that you do. Remember, it's coming up, the Quebec Liberal leadership race. You can't register because the deadline is passed, but voting is the 9th to the 14th of this month, and the results will be released on July 14th. So if you want to have the best candidates coming up in the running for the provincial election, and you want to make sure that the candidate for the Liberal Party of Quebec is the best, absolute best one, please make sure that you vote. And if you have registered, please follow through and vote, because there's usually a big drop off between registering to vote and actually voting when it comes to party leadership races. So please do that. Again, kids and cubs, letters, very, very important. Write them. I happened to follow my own advice, and I wrote one yesterday to the Deputy Minister of, I'm going to have to remember what the title is. um, but the Deputy Minister, I believe it is for innovation and science and technology and all that kind of stuff. Because, something that I have been making a point of talking about is whether or not all this Building Canada Strong has an academic component to it, a research component, a brain gain component to it, if you will. And so I took pen to paper myself, and I asked whether or not there would be some action taken on this. So hopefully I will get a response. I mean, usually you get some type of response at some point. And I sent it to the Minister of State responsible, but I also sent it to my local MPP and my federal MP as well. So there you go. It was the Deputy Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, Phil Jennings is his name, Philip Jennings. So I basically asked about whether the government would be announcing a significant chunk of funding to create and properly fund 100 to 200 new research chairs from coast to coast to coast to attract academics and researchers leaving the United States as well as other nations, saying that it was a great opportunity for brain gain if we tell the world we are ready to fund it. There's also a great amount of research right here at home waiting to be funded. And I spoke a little bit about my beaver sweetie and his research. And I said that it seems that there is no government science research funding streams to which he can apply to pursue this groundbreaking research. And this should not be the case. And then I also mentioned that with the recently announced immigration caps and excessively poor funding of post-secondary education by our nation's premiers, a dedicated envelope with strings attached should be offered to make up the shortfall, because Canada has lost some very innovative programs, such as the midwifery program at Laurentian University and the Indigenous Studies program at the University of Sudbury. The music program at McGill is now virtually non-existent, as is the musical theatre program at Queen's. So we're trying to draw your attention to this because I personally believe that the future of Canada not only depends on the greater deployment of AI, which the Prime Minister has been talking a lot about, but also on the generation of IP, intellectual property. Patents, 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 baby. So, in my estimation, a full effort to make Canada a global leader should include a boost of funding to propel the knowledge economy forward. And I said I would be happy to make time to discuss this with you and eagerly await your response. Hopefully, I will get one. But yes, I took pen to paper and I decided to follow my own advice and do a little democracy and write a letter. So I hope you will too, kids and cubs. Whatever the issue is of importance to you, write. That's the best way to put things on the agenda. Okay. Words of wisdom. Oh, I forgot to introduce the twins. They're here today. They're here. There we go. Please say hello to my buddies. They are here today, and I have to say, since they've been adjusted, things are much easier. The pressure on my hands right here has very much gone down. Now I've got about 2 weeks of accumulated pressure, so there's still a little pain, but it's amazing. I was able to cover much more distance with them yesterday, much more quickly. So yeah, talking to your physiotherapist, it helps. So I guess those are my words of wisdom. If you happen to be seeing a physiotherapist and something's not right, talking to them can often be of help. So there you go. Um, I guess that's all I have. So kids and cubs, remember, it could be a tough world out there. Please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Because if not you, who's going to be? Start with home. Okay. Now, kids and cubs, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Beaver, cue the cock. Uno, dos, tres. Oh, estupendo. Oh, wonderful. I am moved. I am moved to comply. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Kids and cubs, before we go, there's something there was a big announcement that was made. I hope that we don't get dinged for this, that we're allowed to show this, because we are really doing it just to help, not to try to steal anybody's thunder. Oh, by the way, I need to mention also, Brittle Star, if you ever do happen to watch our show, we saw the copyright thing. We did not know, so definitely no harm intended. We were just trying to share and promote your work because we think it's so great. And if we can make it up to you in any way, shape, or form by you being a guest on our show and giving you some airtime, we would be very happy to do that. But yes, we did see that the thing come yesterday, and now we know, so it will not happen again. But it was not malicious, and like I said, we would be more than happy to make it up to you. And we have written to him and let him know that as well, because we got a copyright ding for having used his material. Again, we're new here. We just figured that if it was on TikTok and that type of stuff, that it's stuff that you can use, but apparently that is not necessarily the case, so we're learning. But the only reason that we had it is because we thought it was so damn good that it should be shared and more people should see it. So we wanted to put that out there, just to make sure that that's on the record. So we hope that we can show this because this is someone that we like very much here at the podcast, Guy Felicella, who we talk about a lot. It seems, and he said, the documentary about my life is dropping this summer. For a long time, I belonged to a world not many escape from. Drugs, gangs, and the streets of the downtown east side where I survived for 20 years. It was an endless cycle of pain, 6 overdoses, life-threatening circumstances, multiple stints in prison, and a lifetime of perspective. The doc lays out how I managed to break free and live the life of integrity I live today. I couldn't be more excited. I hope you'll watch. So much gratitude to Ethno Vancouver, which is a group that produces authentic stories from the people you have heard about, the ones you haven't, and everyone in between. And Archivist Creative, they're a full-service creative marketing agency built for today, for working with me on this project. So again, I'm assuming that they own the copyright, so I'm hope for the preview. So I'm hoping we're not doing anything wrong, but we just love Guy so much, and we think it's absolutely fantastic that that there's a documentary about him, and so we want you to know, because we want you to go see it when it comes out. All right, so we will play and like I said, hopefully nothing bad will happen to us as a result.
He's the worst drug addict I ever dealt with. I'm a pretty positive person, but over the years I started to lose hope about him.
He was feared in the downtown east side. He was known as a debt collector. He wasn't a guy you would like to cross, and he was doing it out of survival.
He just seemed like unpredictable, or something that you wouldn't want to provoke.
Like, we'd be on the same corners just selling drugs day in and day out. And with that comes health issues and overdoses, and the police. Oh my God, the police were so bad back then. Like, they couldn't stand us.
We never did catch him. It's like a cat and mouse game until guy went and robbed the Denny's restaurant on Southeast Marine Drive one morning.
You're marrying that person and their family. Whatever happened in that house growing up and the way that their parents handled things, that is a part of that person. I didn't realize how much of the emotional stuff we would have to work through as well.
So, kids and cubs, I am very, very, very excited about this. Hope you are too. Really, really deserving person to have a story told this way. So, and we've sent out an invitation to Guy to see if he would come on the show, and so that we can talk about this as well. So hopefully we'll have a certain number of guests for you over the next coming weeks if they say yes. But we are reaching out and we are trying to bring them to you so that you can hear their stories for yourself. All right, kids and cubs. That's it for today. Be well, and we'll see you tomorrow. Amour et gros, gros, gros bisous. Mwah.